Good morning and welcome to the $50,000 Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational. It is Dressage Day here in Aiken, South Carolina, and rainy weather. I'm Jenny Autry, delighted to be joined by Liz Halliday-Sharp to bring you this first morning of dressage action at this invitational showcase. Liz, we have an exciting 2 days of competition to come in the showcase format. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wet, apparently, and there's $50,000 in prize money on the line.
Yes, indeed. I mean, this is a really exciting thing that we're doing here in Aiken. It's the first time they've done it here. I took place in the Wellington showcase, which was really great fun, and I just think that this could be as equally amazing. But the weather so far is going to be a little iffy. I'm expecting a wet dressage test today, definitely, and hopefully not wet show jumping, but who knows.
We do have rain in the forecast. Looking ahead to today, show jumping will take place this afternoon. 36 competitors in all coming forward, first with the dressage. We are going to be bringing you that first test in just a few minutes, but really the showcase format has been a fantastic way to be able to bring the sport to spectators. This is the first time that we've ever had this showcase format here in Aiken. Like you said, pioneered in Wellington by Mark Bellissimo, and that really was a showcase that ran for 3 years and was so popular for spectators.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant, and I love the idea that they have the VIP tent so that everybody can watch the action, and then they can watch the intensity of the cross country, and that's what we're missing a little bit sometimes in this eventing format we have, is that opportunity for the sponsors and the owners to really be a part of the action all together all the time. They can see everything from one place while they're drinking their champagne, and that's what we need to bring into our sport a little bit sometimes. That's what brings more spectators, more sponsors, and people that enjoy it.
Absolutely, and like we said, prize money, $50,000 in all. That is furnished by Liftmaster and also other sponsors. We're going to show you those right now because, Liz, we cannot bring events like this to the viewers without the sponsors. So thank you to all of the generous sponsors. welcome back to Aiken, South Carolina. We are about to go live with Dressage here at the $50,000 Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational. I'm Jenny Autry, joined by Liz Halliday-Sharp to bring you this action live this morning. Liz will be riding herself a bit later in the morning with Fernhill by night. But first, we are going to be kicked off with Boyd Martin and Setzerleg, quite an experienced combination who, of course, represented the U.S. at the World Equestrian Games. So we really do have quite a lineup here, Liz. We have William Fox Pitt, who has come over from England to compete, which is quite exciting, and really all the big names are here.
Yeah, it's going to be really great, and isn't it awesome to have someone like William over here? Yes. He, of course, has ridden in the Wellington Showcase on a catch ride. I saw him yesterday and had a walk around, and I said, "Oh, when did you get in?" He said, "Last night." I said, "Oh, great, getting to know your horse quickly then."
Yep, of course, a total class competitor in William Fox Pitt, representing Great Britain at countless Olympics, World Equestrian Games, European Championships, and having multiple badminton and Burley titles to his name. That is just an example of the class and caliber of the field that we have here in Aiken. You see there, that is our test rider, Kristen Pasinger, exiting the ring.
You can see a little bit of the cross-country fences around, and there are lots and lots of jumps, and I mean proper fences. You know, there's a difficult corner combination, there's a tiny little skinny you can see there back at the end, and this is going to be an intense race around, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is a showcase, but don't think that means that the cross-country won't be intense and influential. Captain Mark Phillips has designed this course. A number of permanent obstacles have been put in here at Bruce's Field. There are also a number of portables, and it's actually a beautiful course, Liz. The same painters who did the fences for the World Equestrian Games then came here to Aiken to paint the fences, and you'll see tomorrow as we go ahead to the cross country, it's a beautiful course, and it's going to shake up the leaderboard, absolutely.
I think it is. I think the time is going to be very, very tight. Of course, in these showcases, they do make the speed a little bit slower, but don't for a minute think that means it's going to be slower. I think we're going to feel like we're doing 600 meters per minute around that course, and it is really going to be a tight little go-kart track to get around there.
Yes. Go-kart track is a great way to describe it. Very twisty, very turny. It's going to mean that any just minor distraction in your focus can lead to a run out. We're going to show you some of these fences now as we wait for this first horse and rider to come forward for dressage.
Nice friendly first fence.
Yeah, and then it starts to get intense right away. These fences are all designed to mimic some sort of iconic Aiken landmark. So it's really a nod to the history and heritage of Aiken, such a rich horse culture here, and the community has really come behind this showcase event and gotten involved. It's really fabulous to be able to bring an event of this caliber here to Aiken, where so many event riders have based for so many years. Of course, Philip Dutton, Boyd Martin, Ryan Wood, all of them riding here, just a few of the riders who are based here in Aiken during the winter season. And Bruce's Field is also a venue that has a special legacy purchased by Bruce Duchessois before his passing several years ago. He was such a strong supporter of Philip Dutton and eventing, and owned Mighty Nice, who won bronze medal with Philip Dutton at the Rio Olympics. So when we say Bruce's Field, it is the legacy of Bruce Duchessois, and how special to be able to bring an event of this caliber here to this venue.
Absolutely, and I just think, you know, we were all at a loss when the Wellington Showcase went away, because it was a great opportunity for riders to have something a bit early season, to have a fight for some good prize money, which is pretty rare in our sport. So I really commend them for putting this together and for making it all possible. And you know, they put on a great party last night where we all got auctioned into a charity, which was wonderful, and then people could bid for the charity, so that's helping local community and local charities as well. So there's a lot of good here, and hopefully we'll get some great spectators this weekend.
Yes, definitely. A huge community effort to be able to have those charities supported as well, which is fabulous. So that is just a sneak peek of that cross-country course that you're going to see tomorrow. It is definitely going to be a true test. It's going to be fast. Captain Mark Phillip builds a big track, as we know, and looking back to the Wellington Showcase, like you said, Liz, that course always shook things up there. The riders would walk it and think that maybe it looked straightforward, and it never was. Oh,
and literally the speed that was allowed at the showcase in Wellington was also slower, like it is here. I will tell you, I had my foot on the pedal the entire way. I went as fast as I could go, and it was really hard to make the time. But that's what's so fun about these sort of competitions. You don't come here to maybe choose the option or go the easier way. You come here to have a really good crack for some prize money, and you bring your good horse and to put on a great show for everybody. That's part of what this showcase is about. We're here to put on a great show of eventing, and to do our very best. So I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait. Rain or shine.
Yes, rain or shine, the show will go on. And as you saw on those fences, there's skinny triple brushes, there's big proper corners. It is definitely not going to be easy. But first, we will have the dressage. Christian Landell and Bobby Stevenson are our ground jury. That will be Advanced Test B, is what our horses and riders are performing, and then show jumping this afternoon. So it's going to be quite a jam-packed day. We will be showing you all of that here live on EQTV Network. And as we are waiting for Boyd Martin to come forward as our first into the arena, we're going to take one final look at our sponsors before we kick off the action. Good morning from Aiken, South Carolina. We are counting down to the start of dressage on a rainy day here at the Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational. Just a bit of a delay in our start. Time's been pushed back 20 minutes, so if you're looking at those times online, you can just shift them all back by 20 minutes. So in the meantime, we are talking a bit about what makes this event so special, Liz. And one of the exciting things they're doing is the Ride for Charity. $5,000 has been designated to go to charities who have been paired up with the riders. We drew names last night, which was a lot of fun, Liz, at the welcoming party.
It was.
Yeah.
Real auctioneer, everything. We had to we were really lobbying. I think I went for 6,000. I was thinking, really, maybe the husband could have bid me up a little bit more.
And that money will go to then support a local animal shelter, but only if you finish in the top 3, Liz.
Exactly.
So that $5,000 will go to those top 3 charities, who then are paired along with those top 3 riders. So it's just a great way that the event can then give back to the local community, which really supports the mission of the Aiken Horse Park Foundation, which is to give back. It's just another wonderful way that this event is really going to benefit the community, and I think become one that we really look forward to at the beginning of the season every year.
Absolutely, and I was amazed how many people were there last night. It was great. I mean, it was a packed tent, and it's a big VIP tent sitting here behind us, but it really was a great night, and I'm excited to get started now.
Yes, Boyd Martin and Setzerleg will be first into the arena, 36 combinations in all, and really we have all the big names here, Liz, and a lot of different countries represented as well. Australia, Canada, Switzerland,
Brazil.
Of course the US, Brazil, Great Britain.
Yes.
So a lot of international flair here in Aiken for this showcase, which, like you said, Liz, has really stepped up to take the place of the Wellington Showcase, which now hasn't run for 2 years. And it's just so exciting to be able to have a showcase back early in the season now.
Oh, it really is. And I think certainly for some of the horses, like I've brought my older horse, Fernhill by Night, and he doesn't need to do lots of runs now. This sort of thing is perfect for him, and I think we'll see a few of the good horses that are a bit older and more experienced might just have their first run of the year here. I know my horse is, and these sort of fun, heavy atmosphere experiences, it gives them another path, and I hope that we can have more events like this. It's a bit like having the Event Rider Masters in England as well, which has been a great opportunity for sort of these experienced horses that maybe don't need to run a long format competition anymore, but they can still be great competitors, and I think this sort of thing hopefully will continue to expand in our sport, and we'll have more and more of them.
Definitely, and you will see a number of combinations who are prepping for Kentucky here, so that really speaks to how it is an event that can fit into the calendar for the horses and riders when you have them here who are prepping for Kentucky. So definitely a serious competition, definitely a bit of atmosphere out there as well, which you'll see as we go forward to the dressage. We are counting down to that. We're going to take another look at the cross-country course right now, which is designed by Captain Mark Phillips, who also did that showcase course down in Wellington. So it is just packed here into Bruce's Field. It is twisty, it is turny, there is no room for error, Liz. It is really going to be a nail-biter tomorrow afternoon, and we will be streaming that live as well.
Absolutely, and you see a lot of the jumps have got 2 separate numbers on them, so we are going to be sort of racing around. I think it's going to take a lot of walks to really get your lines on this course. It's going to be about efficiency, but it's going to feel much twistier than a normal cross-country course, especially when you're sharing jumps. Many of these jumps jump both directions, so you can see there, I think there's another number coming the other direction. And they've changed the qualifications here this year. They've made it a lot tighter. You know, they have to be advanced qualified horses. So I think that's certainly upped the game a little bit.
It definitely has. So the horses that you are seeing here are qualified to compete at the advanced level. They are experienced competitors. We have all the top riders here, and there is our first into the arena. It is Boyd Martin with his World Equestrian Games partner Setzerleg, or Thomas as he's known to his friends. 12-year-old Trakehner gelding owned by Christine Turner. And again, when we talk about horses who are using this event to prep for bigger things to come, this is definitely a good example of that.
Absolutely. This is just an opportunity for Thomas to get in a lot of atmosphere early enough in the season. I think a lot of our other events that we have don't sort of offer this level of pressure and atmosphere for the horses. So I'm not surprised to see that Boyd has put this horse here. Even who knows if he's going to even run all the way through. I don't know if he's planning to run the cross country. Perhaps he's just here to give the horse the atmosphere in the first 2 phases. But hopefully we will see him all the way through. And this is certainly a beautiful combination, and I would expect him to do a very smart test today.
Absolutely. At the World Equestrian Games in Tryon last year, scored a personal best of 27.1 in a really, really strong test for the horse. But first run of the season, first into the arena, never an easy position to be in necessarily.
No, it's not what you'd be hoping for. And these judges are pretty tough and renowned FEI judges. And I think, you know, you're supposed to believe that it's all equal, but really no rider likes to be first to go. You always feel that maybe something will be left on the table because the judges are trying to get their eye in a little bit, but you never know. I think Boyd is certainly a seasoned competitor, so I don't think he'll let it faze him.
And this is the second outing for Setzerleg this winter. He was at Pine Top Advanced last weekend in an open intermediate section. Finished second there, so just knocking off that rust, stretching his legs for the first time.
And he's looking a little bit on his toes this morning. I think you can tell there in the medium trot work that Boyd has a little bit got the handbrake on, in my opinion. I think just trying to contain the horse a little bit. The extended trot there has a little bit more expression, but not quite as much as we've probably seen from that horse. But, you know, it's a cool morning here, and it's early season, so I think he's maybe just holding on a little bit there.
Yeah, definitely has his work cut out for him.
Good half pass there, nice angle, nice flow. Straight into the 10-meter circle, and then you swap directions to the next 10-meter circle on the right rein and straight into the next half pass. So this is a different sort of movement that we don't get very often with the two circles in the middle, and Boyd's making it look very nice and easy there. I would expect that to be marked quite strongly, actually. Really nice flow. The horse changed his angle and bend with no resistance. Good square halt.
So the horse starting out a bit fresh and on his toes, but is settling really nicely now.
Yeah, he is, and he's a lovely type of horse. He always has sort of a nice rhythm to him, and he has a natural carriage. He's a naturally uphill looking horse, and I think he presents a nice picture in the ring, which is it's always nice when you have a horse that's naturally in that shape and that frame. Extended walk is good here, good overstep. Could maybe be a little bit, take the rein a little bit more forward and a little bit more down, but I think the quality of the walk is going to get the marks for Boyd here. And this is one of, there are two advanced tests in the United States eventing at the moment. This is the test B, so it actually has 4 flying changes, a bit more like we get in the 5-star tests. Of course, is now considered 5 stars. We've changed from the previous 4-star. So the first flying change comes up at the end letter, which you'll see Boyd about to do. Very nice change there. That should be highly marked, lots of lift. And then you do these, it's the medium counter across the diagonal, and the horse has to collect and then show its obedience before you do the flying change at the end letter. So quite a challenging test really for a lot of event horses. And there you just saw him anticipate the change a little bit. So that will be a deduction.
And when we talk about preparing for events like Kentucky later in the spring, being able to practice this test here with all those flying changes is definitely valuable too.
Yeah, and I'll be controversial here. I actually don't like this test at all. I don't think it's a great. No, I just don't think it was thought through very well. But that's just my opinion. But certainly there's a lot of questions there, and they've added in the stretch circle, which you do get in the 5-star test, which you can see Boyd doing now, and also like the last center line. You come back to trot before the halt, which is something that we have also in the 5-star test that we'll be doing in Kentucky. So there are a lot of things that are reminiscent of it. I just find for just the advanced level, it's not my favorite test, but I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there.
Well, everyone entitled to their opinion, especially in dressage, Liz.
Indeed. Everyone has so many opinions in dressage.
So you see that we have quite heavy fog this morning, which is making things a bit difficult from a viewing standpoint, but that is going to lift. So we do apologize for a bit of that grainy quality you might be seeing on the live stream for those of you who have tuned in bright and early to join us for the dressage. But that is exactly what it looks like here on the grounds at the venue. Very heavy fog that will be lifting in the very near future.
I think this is going to be a strong score from Boyd.
Yeah, and again, luck or unluck of the draw. Going first in is not necessarily the place you want to be if you're looking for a very competitive score, but Boyd did absolutely everything he could there. Oh,
absolutely, and you know, look, this is a great partner of a horse for Boyd, and I think this will be a strong score to start everything off with, and I think a little bit, because Boyd has another horse, there was always the risk of going first. I think he'll be pleased with that. Really, the horse settled in, did some beautiful flying changes that will be marked highly, I think. Be interesting to see his score.
And those scores will be on evententries.com So you can follow along at home, and of course we will be bringing you those on the broadcast as they start to come in. Christian Landell and Bobby Stevenson are our ground jury. 36 horses and riders in all coming forward.
And of course Bobby Stevenson will be part of the ground jury at Kentucky as well.
Yes, so we have a top-notch ground jury and top-notch competitors here at the Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase, the first one ever held in Aiken. Not exactly the weather we were hoping for this morning to kick us off, but the fog will lift. It is going to be rainy probably throughout the day.
I was going to say the fog will lift, but the rain will come.
Yeah, but the rain will come.
I'm not sure which is better.
Exactly, but the good news is we have a fabulous VIP tent for all the spectators.
Absolutely.
It won't keep you dry, Liz, when you're out for your test, but it really is. They've rolled out all the stops here.
They really have.
Top-notch hospitality. The venue is beautiful. The course looks fantastic. We showed you those cross-country fences earlier in the broadcast. If you're just tuning in, we'll show those to you a bit later on as well. But first, dressage, 36 in all coming forward. Next is
Will Coleman
and OBOS O'Reilly.
Long-time partner for Will Coleman. Of course, he's done multiple five-star events with this horse, traveled around the world. This is sort of his long-time partner.
Yeah, this horse is 16 years old now, an Irish sport horse gelding owned by the four-star eventing group. Went to Badminton and Tattersall's and Aiken last year, so had a very international season. He's also competed at Lumulin and Kentucky. Definitely a very seasoned pair, and you see the horse there having a bit of a spook. He can be quite hot in this phase.
Yep, he can be a bit sassy.
He can definitely be a bit sassy. However, he can also do some really, really stunning work in this phase. Last year at Badminton, delivered a personal best score of 24.6 in the dressage. Will's worked so hard to be able to get that quality of work out of him and for the horse to really take a breath and relax.
So I'm just going to throw something out there. I've just noticed, for those of you who are really noticing stuff like I probably do, look at how Will is holding his reins. So he's kind of flipped over the way we would traditionally hold our reins. And sometimes riders will do that because it just helps the hand be a little bit steadier. And I think if you can see, OBOS O'Reilly is probably feeling quite perky, and it might be a little bit difficult in the mouth at times. And I think this has been a trick that obviously works for Will.
Yeah, that's a great observation, Liz, and I can't help but wonder if James Birtwell is the one who's had him ride like that.
I was thinking exactly the same myself.
Yes, James Birtwell, fabulous international dressage coach who we're lucky to have now in the States.
Absolutely, we're thrilled to have him here, and James will be joining you on the live stream later today, I believe, which will be exciting.
Yes, and that will definitely be a chunk of the broadcast you will want to tune in for. We'll have him a bit later in the morning, but so knowledgeable and has had Will holding his reins like this for a reason, like you said, Liz. So far the horse is definitely seeming like he's taken a breath.
Yeah, I mean, look, Will's doing a really great job here. I don't think this horse is the easiest ride on the flat. I think Will knows him very, very well, and he's a very, very clever rider in the ring. I mean, he'd be one of the best dressage riders we have in this country, definitely. So he will be doing everything he can, and I think Obo, as he's called at home, can be a bit of a handful, and probably doesn't help having lots of cross-country jumps all around the arena, because he'll be thinking about that already, as we see there.
Yep, taking a bit of a peek.
Having a little look at the cross-country and the sponsors tent. But like I say, Will is a very, very clever rider in the ring, so he's definitely going to be inching out every bit of those scores that he can.
Well, and when we talk about adding options to the calendar, especially early in the season, this is such a great example of having the opportunity to expose the horses to this kind of atmosphere. It's just one more chance to be able to get into the ring.
Oh, absolutely.
To get that practice ahead of your bigger events to come in the spring.
Yeah, there are very few events in this country that have this amount of atmosphere in the run-up to Kentucky. And then you go into that huge arena in Kentucky. There's so much going on there. And I think every opportunity to put the horses in this sort of space before that is a good thing. So Will was being very careful there in the extended walk. And Obo is saying, can we canter yet? How about now? A little bit of a spicy departure there. Will's just saying, hey, come back here, boy.
This is the horse's second appearance of the season. He had a bit of time off after Aiken last year, where he represented the U.S. in the Nations Cup in Germany, and he was out at Rocking Horse Winter 2 horse trials a couple weeks ago in the open intermediate section, cruised around there to stretch his legs.
Good first flying change there, and I mean the horse is just a little bit resisting in the mouth. You can see his mouth is open a bit, again partly why probably Will is riding the way he is. I think for him it'll probably be a good thing that there's a lot of fog, because the judges may not notice that resistance in the mouth as much, but certainly putting in some very solid canter work here, and the changes are very accurate, the collection is good. I think Will is doing a fabulous job here right now.
A very tactful ride.
Indeed.
Yeah, and you think about the fog, that has to be obstructing the judge's visibility a bit.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It's, you sort of start to wonder, is it a good thing or is it a hindrance? Because I can't imagine trying to judge when I could barely see the horses down at the end of the arena.
So conditions making it a bit of a challenge for everyone involved here so far this morning at the Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase. But that will be lifting, so we appreciate your patience. We cannot control Mother Nature.
I was going to say, well, Jenny, you could have tried harder to make the weather better. Come on. Oh, Will did a good job there to just catch Oboe as he went to sort of set sail into that half pass, and he was very clever there to give him a quick half halt and just rearrange his body. Tense change, but again, clean. So I'd say, you know, if the change is clean, even if it's not of great quality, I think the worst that the judges should give him is a 6 or a 6.5. If the change is late, it's an automatic 4. And then if there's more resistance, then it can come down to a 3 or a 2. So really, making sure the change is at least clean is worth a lot of marks when there's so many in the test. And you just see there the horse wanting to halt. This is a difficult movement at the end of a test, because our horses, especially the older ones, like this horse and actually my horse as well, they have been halting out of canter, mostly at the letter L, for so long, right, that they know that that's coming, and it's actually really hard to get them to just do a nice trot transition on the center line. It's not something we do often.
A final halt and salute for Will Coleman and OBOS O'Reilly. See him giving the horse a nice pat there, and he's definitely feeling fresh.
Right, I'm ready to jump. Let's go.
He would much more like to be doing something more exciting. But that's the name of the game in eventing. We have to do the dressage to get to the fun stuff.
Indeed, and it can be difficult riding a fit event horse that's ready to gallop and jump and do all those other things in a ring when it's a bit cold and foggy and you're surrounded by cross-country jumps.
You see next to go will be Kate Chatterton representing Australia with VS McEwen Civil Liberty. As we said, Liz, a real international field here. Multiple riders representing Australia, including Dom Stram and Clayton Fredericks, both of whom you will hear on the broadcast this weekend on commentary with me.
And this horse has been with Kate for a very long time as well. She really knows him well, owned by herself. I think, is he a full thoroughbred?
He is a full thoroughbred, yeah. And he had quite a lot of time off for injury, came back out to compete at the Ocala Jockey Club last year. He's 15 years old now. I know she's just delighted to have him back at this top level. And Kate owns him along with Patrick McEwen. Kate's a rider who's produced so many thoroughbreds to the highest levels of the sport. Definitely somebody who excels with retraining them after they come off the track.
See him just eyeing up those cross-country jumps as well. She's just giving him a pat to say, hey buddy, come on, let's get this job done first.
Well, and the fog makes for a bit of a spooky condition for the horse as well, so not easy out there this morning.
Definitely not. My guess would be that Kate's plan is also to get to Kentucky this year. I'm guessing that's her goal and partly why she's here, to expose this horse to a bit more. He is someone who can get a little bit hot in the dressage ring, so I'm guessing every opportunity for him to see the crowd in a bigger atmosphere is a good thing.
Definitely, and like I said, quite a long period of time off for injury. 3 years between when he competed at Blenheim and then returned to the advanced level last season. So fabulous to have him back.
Absolutely.
It's such a testament to how the level of care and dedication that goes into maintaining horses at the highest level of the sport it's not easy, and especially when you have one with an injury like that, just the patience and all those years to bring him back is just really speaks to her team.
Absolutely, and they are, true athletes, especially in this sport. It's a bit like having a triathlon competitor. You've got to do so many different things, but the horses that love it, they truly love this sport. And this is one of those horses that'll be thrilled to be back here at the party, because he definitely enjoys his job.
You see him taking quite a lot of looks around.
Yeah, just losing a bit of rhythm there in that extended trot, and he's just a bit tight in his back and a little bit tense, so I think she's finding it hard to keep him through and soft into the bridle. But she's doing a good job here. Kate just heading into her right half pass after those 2 10-meter circles. Again, the horse just coming a little bit above the bridle, just struggling to come through from behind and really connect into that contact. Good square halt there, it looks from our view. And 5 steps back. And then it's the medium walk and into the extended walk. And in the extended walk, we want to see the horse really swinging through the back, plenty of overstep from the hind leg, and taking the bridle within a contact but longer and more forward. So I think this horse, he could just swing through a little bit more, but actually for how keen for the job he looked, he's holding himself together pretty well.
Yeah, definitely has settled. And in fairness, this is so early in the season. We can expect to see horses, a bit on their toes coming into this arena. It is quite a bit of atmosphere. The wind's picking up. I think we have a little bit of rain falling now, so
just a generally beautiful day.
Fabulous.
Feels very English today.
It does feel English. And we will bring you scores as they come in. You can follow along at home on evententries.com. Kate is our 3rd combination out of 36 in all that will come forward. So far, so good with clean changes.
Horse has a very nice natural change, I think, and he's actually looking better in the canter work. He's more settled in the rein, and I think he as a horse finds canter an easier pace, probably. She's doing a good job now, and I think she'll be getting a few better marks. Oh, there's just a little bit of resistance there in the half pass and canter. But she'll be definitely getting the marks for the flying changes, which will help the score. And a good stretch circle, actually, from him. He's really taking the bridle down and out and swinging through that nicely. So I think she'll be getting a few marks back here in the canter work.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to see it trending more in this direction. A lot to really like about the canter work.
Just coming up to her final flying change after the right half pass. And nearing the end of her test. Oh, what a shame. He went to do a decent change there and just I don't know if he caught the board with one of his legs, but just a bit of a muddled change, unfortunately. And the extended canter could have shown a little bit more expression there and been a bit bolder, but I think perhaps she needed to keep a lid on things a little bit. And he just trips himself into the trot transition, which was a real shame. I don't think he meant to do anything wrong there. I think he genuinely tripped behind, but she was quick to get him back together, and a good halt at the end.
So final halt and salute for Kate Chatterton and VS McEwen Civil Liberty. Our third combination in this Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase. On a very foggy morning here at Bruce's Field in Aiken, South Carolina. Still waiting on those first scores to pop up. So temperatures definitely starting to drop a bit this morning as we have this rainstorm rolling in, which is only going to make fresh fit event horses feel even a bit more feisty. Now we look to a combination that has been reunited. It is Caroline Martin with Quantum Solace, her young rider, team and individual gold medalist, who has been doing some pure show jumping with Adrian Jones for the past couple years. Caroline hasn't competed him since 2016, so definitely really fun to see this pair reunited. He's 14 years old now. Argentinian sport horse owned by Sherry Martin. And we saw Caroline competing him in the Arena Eventing Showcase in New York City, which was very cool having that running in Central Park the year that it ran. And really cool to see them reunited after such a long time apart in their partnership.
It really is, and it'll be interesting to see this, because when you know a horse this well, like she does, it must just feel like, you know, putting on your favorite pair of shoes or something like that. Like you just, there's a good fit there. But I know she was a little bit nervous, saying, I haven't done a dressage test on it for 2 years, but so far it's not looking like anything has come away from the two of them. I'll be interested to see how the cross country is gonna feel for both of them. I don't think he's done much cross country for a while, but he was an incredible machine for the job. So, but she's certainly going for it today, which I commend her for. And I think when you come to these sort of showcases and stuff, there is no point in just holding back. I think you just got to go for all the marks that you can, and it's, at the end of the day, it's not a qualifier for anything, and you're here to put on a show and to do your very, very best, and to maybe test a few things and push a few buttons and see how much you can get. And I think she's definitely going for it.
And of course, $50,000 in prize money on the
It
line.
helps.
Definitely a good motivator. And $5,000 of that designated for those local charities. Each rider has been paired up with a local Aiken charity, and the top 3 finishers will have that prize money go to their partnered charity, which just adds another fun element to the competition, and it's fabulous to give back to the community that way.
Absolutely. I know William Fox-Pitt was saying to me yesterday, we were staring at there's sort of 2 triple brush skinnies, and there's an option there and stuff, and he said, well, you know, when you're in this kind of competition, you're not really going to take the safe option, or you just got to go for it and go the fastest route possible all the time. And I think he's right. So it's a weekend of going for it and doing your best and seeing what you can come away with. And I think Caroline's doing a fantastic job here with a horse that she hasn't really ridden much at all for a long time. Yeah,
for as nervous as Caroline was about how this test might go, I'd say it's going quite well.
And Caroline's really come on in her riding. You know, she's the youngest member on the high performance training list, the pre-elite list, and she just looks beautiful on a horse. She has a really nice natural way, and I think we're going to see a lot more of her on many teams to come. Just showing a little bit of resistance there into the rein back. I think maybe he wasn't quite sure what she wanted straight away, but straight back into a nice relaxed walk. Maybe see him just bring his nose out a little bit more. He's just very slightly overbent there, but the extended walk looks very nice, very relaxed.
Well, and while they haven't been partnered together for some time, while he's been just in the pure show jumping ring, they had such a strong partnership together when they were eventing. Like I said, winning that young rider individual and team golds at Kentucky, that was back in 2013, and then he took her to Bramham and Tattersall's as well, so gave her some of that international experience, and really was a horse who started to put her career on the map.
Absolutely, he was. He was sort of her horse of a lifetime there, so to speak, when she was very young. And you know, and again, that's what we were saying, is these sort of competitions, they make room for horses like this to come again, and I think he struggled with some soundness in the eventing, and so maybe these sort of shorter format, more intense showcase appearances will suit a horse like this. It's just nice to have them having different routes to go down.
It's definitely fabulous to have options for horses like this. Nacho, as he's known to his friends.
Nacho, I love that. Nacho looking a little bit excited about his flying changes today, but actually I think she's going to be marked very well for the medium and extended canters across the diagonal. I think those will help the score. You can see Caroline there is riding in a double bridle. That is allowed at the intermediate level and above in our sport. And I think she's just maybe just needing a little bit more help for the connection. He's obviously, you know, a big strong horse and hasn't done much dressage for a while, so I think she's doing a very good job of this. And actually, aside from the flying changes, which just look like he hasn't had much practice for a while, I think the rest of the canter work is looking pretty solid.
Yeah, considering it's their first test together in literally years.
Yeah, literally.
I would be pretty happy with this.
Absolutely. He maybe just occasionally gets a little bit short in the neck, sort of behind the vertical slightly in this double bridle. But, you know, things like this extended canter, I mean, she's really gone for it, and that's sort of what you need to do. You know, there's no point in just going halfway. She's trying to claw all the marks that she can.
So final halt and salute for Caroline Martin and Quantum Solace. You're giving them big pats there. Fabulous to see them reunited back together for this showcase.
Must be a great feeling for her, sort of with her old friend out there.
Yeah,
she looks really happy.
She looks delighted. So rain falling down more now. We can hear it pitter-pattering on the top of our commentary tent.
Yep, I've just gone and got myself another layer.
Yep.
It's truly not a great day for weather, but it is a great day to be here at a wonderful venue like this. And look, as eventers, this is part of the gig. Rain or shine, we're out there doing it. So
yes, we are an all-weather sport, and weather not making things easy for these horses and riders as we start out this morning. We'll see how the forecast plays out later in the day. We'll have a break this afternoon before show jumping later tonight. And we are waiting on these scores to come in. We actually have a score in for Will Coleman, OBOS O'Reilly, who are our second in, 35.6 for them. We're waiting for Boyd Martin's score with Setzer leg to finish being tabulated. So rain falling down, definitely a bit soggy for our dressage.
Yeah, you can see us. I'm like, oh, I'm on screen and I look really cold. Okay.
Yeah, we are a bit chilly here in the commentary booth, but the show must go on. Still a fabulous day of competition that will be coming forward as the rain really starts to come down now. We have dressage that's going through the early afternoon, then we'll have that break, and show jumping is going to be starting back at 4:30. So long day of action, and then the real meat of the competition, cross country tomorrow.
Absolutely. We're meant to have a slightly better day tomorrow, but I am told that actually the rain is only going to help the ground here because it is very, very sandy ground, which is great. If we had, you know, sort of muddy ground, it wouldn't be ideal, but I think we're going to have perfect going for our horses tomorrow. We're just going to have to suck it up today and get wet, and hopefully it might just stop raining for the show jumping so we get a bit of relief, but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, definitely. We're going to take a look at the sponsors who are bringing you this showcase. Welcome back to Bruce's Field, where rain is pouring down for this Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase. We are underway with dressage. Not the conditions we were hoping for, Liz, but the show must go on. So far, Boyd Martin and Setzerleg are our leaders. First into the ring, and a score of 30.2 has them at the top of the leaderboard, but we still have a full morning and afternoon of action. You see here, this is Felix Vogue and Colero in the ring.
This was, of course, his World Equestrian Games partner this in 2018. And this is a lovely horse, can do a really nice test despite the weather. But certainly not ideal conditions for riding a beautiful test.
No, definitely not the conditions you would choose if it were up to you, but we can't control the weather. We thank you for bearing with us. We're battling fog on the cameras, just with the weather conditions being quite challenging, so we do appreciate you bearing with us.
We had a little bit of a gap there in the viewing because they were trying to actually clear some of the lenses on the cameras. So
yeah, definitely difficult visibility for the judges as well, I'd have to imagine.
Absolutely.
But we press on.
Indeed.
This horse is 11 years old, Westphalian gelding, owned by Felix's father, Jürgen Vogue. And like you said, Liz, his World Equestrian Games partner. And he is aiming the horse for his first Kentucky this spring.
And surely he'll be eyeing up Tokyo as well, most definitely.
Well, and in speaking with him, his goal is to perhaps go to the European Championships if Switzerland wants him for the team. But like you said, Liz, his eyes are firmly focused on Tokyo.
Yeah.
That is definitely
number one.
His main goal. And you have to be quite strategic with points and qualifications when you are looking to go along that Olympic path. So rain starting to fall quite heavily here in Aiken as Felix comes down center line for his final halt and salute.
And I would expect a good score from Felix, actually. It's a shame we didn't really see much of his trot work, but I think, just having a wobble in the final halt, but the horse has beautiful paces and loads of expression, and I think he naturally commands a good mark in his tests. So it is absolutely chucking it down is the best way I could put it. We've just had to reroute our chairs so that we don't get poured on as well. Will Chaudry, poor guy, is about to start his test. Luckily he's on a good hardy Irish horse, yes. Fun. So this will not be a mystery to Fun. He's probably experienced this sort of weather.
Fun is probably the only one having fun right now.
Happy. He doesn't look that happy.
So challenging weather conditions as we make our way through this dressage phase at the $50,000 Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase. We thank you for bearing with us as we've literally had to dive for cover as the storm poured in, trying to protect electrical equipment and things of that nature. So challenging conditions for all of us here in Aiken.
I'm just really hoping this might let up a little bit before I have to get on the horse. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we are working hard to try and get those camera lenses clean and fog-free.
Not only challenging conditions for the riders, but challenging conditions for the live stream crew. So let's say thank you to them for doing all that they can to bring this forward to all of you.
with us here in Aiken as we have rain bucketing down. It is creating fog on the camera lenses, which means we are not able to show you the action live. Currently, we are doing everything we can to bring you that view back live, but we can tell you what's happening as we are sitting huddled under a tent ringside, so we can see a bit of what's going on.
I feel really sorry for Will Fodry right now, who's riding his horse Fun, who has had a little bit of time off, but I'm sure he'll be aiming for Kentucky with this lovely grey horse. Just an outstanding jumper, so you can look forward to watching him jump later today. And I think Will is doing the very best he can in all we can say is incremental weather, because it is truly dreadful. You know, when the grey horse is looking much darker than it normally does, it's yeah, not ideal.
This is a 12-year-old Irish sport horse, gelding owned by Jennifer Mosing,
known as Ted at home.
And like you said, Liz, fabulous to have him returning back after that period of time off for injury. He competed at Kentucky in 2017, was 25th there. Now aiming to get back to that 5-star level this year here in Aiken, using this showcase as a prep event.
This horse, of course, ran at Pine Top recently, last weekend, and had a win in the intermediate, if I'm correct. So great to have him back out again, just settling back into some atmosphere and yeah, basically getting completely drowned at the moment. There's no other way to put it.
No, unfortunately, in looking at the radar, we have storms overhead and more on the way, so a bit of a soggy day here, but it will be helping the footing, so fabulous going. We can expect for cross country tomorrow based on how much rain is currently falling. And that is final halt and salute for Will Fawdry and fun on a soggy day of dressage here at Bruce's Fields. We have Boyd Martin and Setzerleg topping the leaderboard on 30.2. They are the provisional leaders early on in this division.
Fairly tough judging, I think, so far.
Well, Felix Vaughan Colero's test scored 32.6. That has them in second place, and I think we both expected that would be a bit of a better mark.
Yeah, I mean, of course we didn't see the trot work, but just judging what I know the horse can do, I think probably he had been hoping for a better mark, but we didn't see the trot work. We don't know if there were some mistakes there.
So next to go will be Nilson Moreira da Silva and Muggle, representing Brazil.
And just as the wind is picking up, I think Nilson has got a challenge in his hands here. He's had this horse for quite a long time now. Can be a little bit tricky in the flat. Sometimes you think though, when you're riding a horse that might be a little bit difficult in the contact, sometimes having a torrential downpour on their head can be helpful.
Yeah, this weather might actually benefit Nilson and Muggle. This is a 15-year-old thoroughbred cross gelding owned by the Phoenix Syndicate. And this is a very experienced combination. They've been at that 4-star level for a long time, going to Burley back in 2016. And as a reminder to anyone watching, or I suppose listening at home right now as we try to get the cameras back up, all those stars have shifted up this season, so on the broadcast we will be referring to the new star system. So Kentucky 4-star is now Kentucky 5-star, and all the other star levels have shifted up.
We're trying very hard to force ourselves into treating it the right way,
yes,
the new way. Trying to form our brains into believing the new system, which is hard after so many years.
And that score to beat is 30.2. Boyd Martin and Setzerleg topping that leaderboard. This would not be Muggle's favorite phase, the dressage.
No, I think he prefers the next two phases more. But so far, actually looking a fairly tidy test. And again, like I said, it may just be that this torrential rain down on his head might actually help sort of steady things a little bit for this horse. The one thing I will say that we will all be grateful for today is that we are doing dressage on a surface in our warm-up. This would not be the ideal sort of day to be in a muddy field.
No.
At least everyone has the same conditions to deal with and the same ground that they approach. It's a challenge. Some of the English events definitely, where the people who go early get a completely different playing field than the ones that go later. So we're thankful for this wonderful footing and this great arena at this venue.
Definitely, and one thing that's fabulous about the ground that we have here in Aiken, it's very sandy soil, so it can take this moisture and the rain. So we can expect to have really fabulous going tomorrow for cross country as the horses and riders take on Captain Mark Phillips' course.
Muggle and Nilson just coming into their halt and rein back. The horse getting a little bit hollow and adding just an extra step in the rein back, it looks from our view. But all in all, looking more settled than I've seen this horse on some occasions.
So just to catch everyone up on scores, Boyd Martin and Setzerleg are leading on 30.2, followed by Felix Vaughn and Colero on 32.6. Will Coleman and OBOS O'Reilly scoring 34.4 for third place. Caroline Martin and her longtime partner reunited, Quantum Solace, 36.7 for fourth, and Kate Chatterton and VS McEwen Civil Liberty, 38.0 for fifth. Those are the scores that we have in thus far. You can follow along at home on event entries. And we do apologize that you have audio only. The downpour here in Aiken has fogged the camera lenses so badly that we cannot bring you a picture currently. Mother Nature not being kind to us so far as we kick off this $50,000 Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase.
Currently watching Nilson Moreira da Silva in his dressage test. He's just coming to his second flying change. The horse looking a little bit green for these movements and not quite finishing behind, so he's had to do a little transition back to walk to get the correct canter lead. So just struggling a little bit in this canter work in this really difficult conditions today.
And we have 3 more to come before the break. Philip Dutton will be next, followed by Jenny Brannigan and Colleen Rutledge. All the big names here in Aiken competing at the showcase, and William Fox Pitt has also traveled from across the pond. He will be going in the last group later this afternoon after the lunch break.
And I think we may have had a withdrawal from Lauren Kiefer and Paramount Importance. I don't think we've seen her, so I assume that's a late withdrawal for anyone who's wondering. But she will be out later on her World Equestrian Games mount for Vermiculus.
So Nilson, Moreira da Silva, and Muggle making their way to the end of their test.
Good square halt at the end. Next up will be Philip Dutton, who's just making his way over to the arena on Fernhill, Singapore. This horse is only fairly recently moved up to the advanced level. Very, very talented horse. Very cheeky horse.
Yeah, he's quite an athletic freak of nature.
He is.
And stepped up to advanced level at Red Hills last year and actually completed that event, but as he was leaving the arena, broke a bone in his foot and just hit a hard spot in the footing just right, so had to have a period of time off to recover from that. Event horses find all sorts of creative ways to injure themselves, as we know.
Well, it's very nice to have him back.
And he did his first 4-star short format last year at the Ocala Jockey Club, finished 4th there. Horse is an unbelievable jumper.
And he recently competed at Pine Top in the advanced and did quite well there.
Yeah, top 5 finish to kick off his season.
I think this is a horse that, as he continues to mature, could just become a really incredible horse for Philip. I think it has all the pieces.
Absolutely.
And perhaps he just needs a bit of time to get all those pieces into the correct place, but truly is a talented horse.
And he's coming 10 years old this year. A Dutch gelding owned by Tom Tierney, Annie Jones, and Dave Voss. So this is definitely a horse that's perfectly capable of doing a very competitive test. He can get quite hot in this first phase. But young, still learning to settle. And as we said, newer to the advanced level, having only stepped up last season.
The trot work looking quite good so far from our view. He's got very extravagant paces. Looking like Philip's got him in a really good rhythm. And he's looking fairly settled actually. Again, this may be weather conditions that suit a horse like this. Sometimes these hotter horses are in benefit by having some pouring rain.
Yeah, rain's still bucketing down here in Aiken. And making it impossible to get these cameras up and running. Boyd Martin and Satterleg still our leaders. They were first down center line this morning, scoring 30.2. That is the score to beat. And there will be just 2 more to go after Philip before we come to the first break, running 20 minutes behind the times that were originally announced. So if you have that order of go in front of you, you can just tack on 20 minutes. And Liz, this is looking really lovely. I think there's a lot to like about it.
I think if the canter work is as good as it could be, I think we might see our new leader here. He's definitely kept a lid on Singapore. It's very hard for us to tell what the halt was like before the rein back. I'd say he was a little bit quick to rein back. He could have showed some more immobility. But the rein back looked fairly quality. Horse is looking a little bit keen in his walk, but Philip doing a good job. This horse has a really big step in the front leg into the walk. He nearly sort of flicks his toes out when he walks. Again, Philip just so clever to keep these horses settled.
So now he's striking off into that canter work.
The horse just getting a little bit hollow into the canter transition, so he might suffer a little bit with that mark. Off into the medium canter across the diagonal. Could have perhaps been a little bit bolder, and then the flying change was early. I think Singapore just anticipating that flying change just out of greenness, but it was clean. But there will probably be a deduction for it being before the letter. And if we're trying to be positive, I would say the rain is letting up a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit.
We've gone, yeah, to torrential downpour, from torrential downpour to still bucketing it down, but the skies are lightening up a bit. We've had quite a severe storm rolling through Aiken, South Carolina. Philip Dutton and Fernhill, Singapore are making their way through this test. It is Advanced Test B, and our ground jury, Christian Landolt and Bobby Stevenson.
Philip's just in the stretching canter circle, nearing the end of his test. Looking like he's got a good bit of horse in his hands to manage, but and he's having a bit of a spook at something there, perhaps because there was a golf cart just going past the arena. But Philip did a good job to keep a lid on things there, and he's just heading into his last half pass now, coming up to the final flying change of this test. Singapore just getting a little bit excited into that last flying change. He looks to be winding up a bit as he goes, which I think can be his nature. And into the extended canter, and Philip is hanging on tight as Singapore has other ideas and sticks his head up in the air a bit. But I think all in all, a good test, maybe marred by a bit of tension and greenness in the canter work. But I think the trot work will have scored very highly.
Fernhill, Singapore, not making this easy at the end of the test for Philip.
Flying change on the centre line, and said he would much rather do medium canter rather than come back to trot. But Philip has put things back together again.
Well, it's a shame to have things unraveling a bit towards the end of that test for Philip Dutton with Fernhill, Singapore, because so much of the work earlier on was really lovely.
The trot work was super. Very, very classy.
But a horse for the future, absolutely, just coming 10 years old this year. And when you think about what Philip has done in producing Z, his World Equestrian Games partner, this is the horse that's coming up behind that one to hopefully follow in his stablemate's footsteps and also represent the U.S. on a championship team. So definitely an exciting horse for the future, and one who will come away better from having competed here, being exposed to that atmosphere. For a horse like this that's quite hot in the first phase, it's so valuable to be able to get them into this type of environment.
Absolutely. He can, it's an invaluable experience, really. And I'm sure that's why Philip has brought him here. I'm sure he'd always planned to bring him to this competition for that reason.
So just 2 more to go until this first morning break. We still have rain falling down here in Aiken, South Carolina, and foggy camera lenses, so unfortunately we cannot show you this action live. Our crew is working tirelessly, doing everything they can to bring that back up. For now, we will bring you audio as we are huddled under our tent ringside.
With literally every item of clothing on and our hoods over our heads. Hands in pockets, freezing.
Tough conditions for all of us here in Aiken. The storm is going to move through the area and lift in the near future. It is letting up a bit now, actually. It is letting up. It's starting to let up a bit.
We've gone from torrential to sustained rain, which is something.
Yes, that we'll go with that.
You learn all these different, random terms when you live in England long enough, Jenny. There's all different types of pouring rain.
Jenny Brannigan and Effie Lifestyle are next to go. This is a 9-year-old German sport horse gelding owned by Nina and Tim Gardner, her longtime supporters. And one of the younger horses that we have here competing.
This horse would probably be the least experienced advanced horse, wouldn't it?
Yes, definitely one of the greener ones that we have in this field. He's been out at Rocking Horse Winter 1 in an open intermediate section in January, and also went around the intermediate preliminary section at 3 Lakes a bit earlier in February. Now here doing his first advanced test of his career here at the Grand Prix Eventing Invitational. Boyd Martin and Setzer Legs still holding that lead on 30.2, with Felix Vaughan Colero in second on 32.6, Will Coleman and OBOS O'Reilly on 34.4 in third. Those are your top 3. Still waiting for someone to break into the 20s.
Jenny Brannigan putting in quite a nice test so far on this young horse. Just heading into her extended trot before the half pass to the 2 circles in the center to the second half pass. Nice flow into the first half pass. This horse is looking like he's really listening to her despite the weather conditions. I know Jenny is such a hard worker, and she's so excited to be back competing this year after that unfortunate 1-year ban.
And Lynn Szymanski competed this horse during that time. No, Jenny was very grateful to have her good friend Lynn taking the ride. And he's been quite competitive at that former 2-star level, now 3-star level in the short format. Last year, 2 top 10 finishes with Lynn Savansky at that level at Carolina International and Plantation Field. Now this year, stepping up to that advanced level for the first time. And for his first advanced test of his career, there's a lot to like about this, Liz.
Absolutely. This horse did do the advanced combined training in Ocala a little while ago, so he had a bit of experience, but surely he won't have seen an atmosphere like there is here. So a really invaluable experience for a young horse like this. So far the walk work looking pretty good. He's a little bit tense in the medium walk just before the canter. It's quite normal for a young horse that knows something's coming up next, but really so far a very clean and tidy test. Jenny just being a little bit conservative into the first medium canter across that diagonal line. And the flying change was together behind, but he did try. I think again we're just seeing this is quite a big test for a young green horse, and he'll come away from this having learned a lot, I think.
It's definitely a bit of survival of the fittest right now, as we have cold, rainy conditions here in Aiken. And I think for being one of the youngest horses in the field, he's definitely giving us a glimpse of what is to come in the future, and I think it's definitely exciting.
Absolutely. I know Jenny had hoped to put this horse forward as a contender for the Pan American Games, so no doubt she's here partly to show this horse off and show what he's capable of doing.
Showing nice stretch and relaxation in that stretchy canter circle.
Just getting a little bit tense here towards the end of this test, but Jenny is very, very clever in her flat work, and she's doing a good job to hold things together as she heads into the right half pass in canter, showing good angle and good bend. And the final flying change, and it is clean, which she'll be pleased with, as he's no doubt still learning his changes.
He's quite a big, extravagant mover too.
Yes.
Beautiful paces.
But you know, when they're young like that and he has such a huge canter, it's hard to keep them together until they really have that strength. So I think this will be an exciting horse for the future, and he probably just needs a bit more time to get stronger. But she should be very happy with that.
Final halt and salute for Jenny Brandigan and FE Lifestyle. She's giving him big pats, telling him he's a very good boy. She's absolutely delighted. And I think she should be. I mean, we've seen a number of horses really getting quite tense and upset in this atmosphere. And he really just showed us what a professional he is, actually.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good test for a young horse. I think she's absolutely thrilled with that.
So Boyd Martin and Setzer Leg still the pair to beat at the top of the leaderboard on that score of 30.2. Felix Vogt and Colero, representing Switzerland, sitting in second place currently on 32.6. Will Coleman and OBS O'Reilly on 34.4 in third. Caroline Martin and Quantum Solace sit fourth on 36.7, followed by Kate Chatterton and VS McEwen Civil Liberty in fifth on 38.0. We also have the score in for Will Fodry and Fun, 38.8 to sit in sixth place currently, and Nilsson, Moreira de Silva and Muggle in seventh on 41.7. Those are all the scores that we have so far. We have our last pair before the break circling the arena now. Colleen, Rutledge, and Confidence Game. There'll be a 20-minute break after their test, during which time we will try to get the cameras back up and running. Rain still falling. A heavy, steady rain, Liz. It is lightening up a little, but it's not exactly making things easy for us. We have a camera. Well done to our hardworking EQ TV network team. It is very difficult with these conditions because it fogs the camera lenses, so we do apologize and appreciate your patience for those watching at home. This is Colleen, Rutledge, and Confidence Game. They are our final pair to go before this first break of the morning. And we are still waiting to see someone crack into the 20s. 30.2 is our best score thus far. That's from Boyd Martin and his World Equestrian Games partner, Setzerleg. This is another of the younger horses we have in the field. 9-year-old thoroughbred stallion.
And can be quite a hot little person.
Yes.
Colleen is actually an outstanding rider on these type of horses. She's so good with the ones that get a bit wound up in the ring. She had so much experience with her old partner, Shiraz.
Yes.
Who completed every CCI 5-star except for Adelaide, for obvious reasons, because Australia is a very long way away, a very long quarantine. But certainly she would be the right rider for this type of horse. And I think he has the paces for the job. It's just getting him to settle in the ring and stop thinking about the jumping phases quite so much.
Which is difficult to do when the jumps are placed directly by the arena.
Indeed.
So you see here, just trying to get him to take a bit of a breath and settle.
I think this horse actually has very good paces. You see here in the extended trot, he just loses a little bit of rhythm behind, but he has the potential for fantastic paces. It's just marred by tension at the moment, which is frustrating, I'm sure, for Colleen, because she knows what's in there and what is possible. And it may just take a few more years to find her way in.
Well, and once she gets to that point, this is a horse that can be really competitive. He's such a good jumper, very fast across the country, full thoroughbred, so loves to run and jump. So Colleen, Rutledge, and Confidence Game making their way through this test. They are our final pair to go before a short break. We are battling soggy conditions here in Aiken, South Carolina. If you are seeing little interruptions in your broadcast, it is because the camera cables are literally standing in standing water. So we are doing everything we can to bring you clear pictures, but Mother Nature not exactly cooperating with us thus far today. And
Colleen is doing a really good job with this young stallion. I think she's definitely got her hands full, but when he puts in the more relaxed work, you can see the potential for the future. Just having a little bit of a spook there before the change, and unfortunately doesn't quite get it, and getting very upset because he couldn't quite get his hind legs figured out.
Well, and he seemed like he'd taken a bit of a breath during the walk, but that tension creeping back in the canter.
And he's a horse that looks really difficult in the contact, and I think it's very hard to get them through from behind when they don't want to accept the rein either. So not an easy ride for Colleen for sure. So Colleen nearing the end of her test in what has been a challenging ride on this young thoroughbred stallion. He seems to be a horse that definitely struggles with increasing anxiety and adrenaline as he goes along, quite similar of many thoroughbred horses. But actually I commend her for really going for that extended canter. She really did the best she could to get a few marks back. And no doubt this horse will improve with time as he learns to relax a little bit more in the ring.
Yes, definitely a horse that's still developing for Colleen, just only coming 9 years old this year, so a big future ahead for Confidence Game and Colleen Rutledge, as you see her there with final halt and salute. That is the final pair to go in this first group of the morning. We'll have a 20-minute break now, and then we'll come back with Buck Davidson and Errol Goby. 36 in all coming forward in this Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase here on a soggy day in Aiken, South Carolina. Welcome back to Aiken, South Carolina on a soggy day as we kick off the $50,000 Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase. We are back underway with dressage after a quick break. Dom Schramm is going to be joining me here in the commentary booth in just a second, but for now we will take you to the action live. This is Buck Davidson with Errol Goby, our next into the arena. 36 in all coming forward for dressage in this invitational showcase. 30.2 is the score to beat at this point in the competition. After a wet, soggy morning of dressage, we had a very large storm roll through here in Aiken, South Carolina, so we appreciate everyone being patient as we're battling some technical difficulties with the cameras. This horse is a 9-year-old Holsteiner gelding, so one of the younger horses that we have in the field, owned by Carl and Cassie Siegel, Lisa Darden, and Natalie Sandler. He competed in his first long format 4-star last fall at Fairhill International. Again, reminding everyone that we are using the new star system here on the broadcast. 4-star level is now 5-star level. So when we talk about Kentucky, that is now a 5-star event. All those star levels shifting up this year under a new FEI rule. So this horse, one of the younger competitors that we have in the field, but as you can see here, so much quality of movement, and he's only just really starting to build that strength to be able to hold himself in these more difficult movements at the advanced level. So such an exciting horse for Buck for the future. And this is Advanced Test B that the horses and riders are performing for the showcase. Our ground jury is Christian Landolt and Bobby Stevenson. So after that halt and rein back, we'll have the medium walk and then going into the extended walk. And you want to really see the horse stretching in and taking the connection and the contact, and that over track in the walk, and that stretching and freedom of the shoulder in that extended walk. So we'll have 14 in all in this group before the lunch break. Dressage taking place this morning into the early afternoon. And then we still have a lot of action to go because we also have show jumping tonight, starting at 4 o'clock, running through until 6 o'clock. And then cross country will be tomorrow at 2:30, running for about 3 hours. And we will be streaming all of that live on EQTV Network. Now we have Buck Davidson and Errol Goby as our first back into the arena after that brief morning break, having a really lovely test. So there are 4 flying changes in all in Advanced Test B. And then this stretch circle. You really want to see the horse stretching forward and down while maintaining a light contact. And that is a movement that's in the test for Kentucky. We talk about horses and riders who might be here using the showcase as a way to prep for what's to come later in the spring. And then the extended canter, Buck really going for it here. Nice transition back. And you can see the horse thinking about halting there. It's challenging because these horses have done that in past tests where you canter into that halt, so they think that they're supposed to halt there, but in this test you trot and then don't halt until G. So we have seen that happening a bit this morning with horses wanting to halt earlier. So final halt and salute for Buck Davidson and Errol Goby. Big pats there for the horse, which we love to see. We'll also see Buck returning as our final rider to go with Carlevo. That's going to be an exciting test to watch because that's definitely one that could take the lead as the final one to go. Boyd Martin and Setzerleg are still our pair to beat. They are first down center line this morning on a very foggy morning here in Aiken. 30.2 has them topping the leaderboard. We had that fog lift, but the rain rolled in. Steady rain still falling now, making for difficult conditions for the horses and riders, but it's significantly lighter than it was this morning. So Mother Nature being a bit kinder to us. Hallie Kuhn and Celine are our next pair to go. Doug Payne and Van Diver are our next pair to go. Hallie Kuhn and Celine will be after them. This is a 15-year-old Trakehner gelding, owned by Debbie Crowley. And making his way back to competition this season after a period of time off for injury last year. He won the short format 4-star at Carolina International, finished on his dressage score of 29.6. And then having that period of time off after injury, so fabulous to have the horse back now. He stormed around Pine Top, advanced last weekend, looked fabulous. And this horse's dressage has improved significantly with Doug in the irons. So definitely one who can get into the 20s, which is what we're looking for. Score to beat is 30.2. That's Boyd Martin and Setzerleg, who are our first pair to go. So looking to Doug Payne to give us a score in the 20s. Doug and Van Diver and partnered together since 2015, so a lot of experience together as a combination now. Competed at Kentucky in 2016 and 2017, and then crossed the pond to Blenheim to represent the U.S. They finished 14th there. So now the halt And rein back, 5 steps. And then the medium walk. And then it's a half circle left, 20 meters of extended walk. And the judges are really looking for suppleness through the back, activity in the gait, and that over tracking. You can see Van Diver there stretching down into the contact. So Doug and Van Diver making their way through the canter work in this test. And I have Dom Schramm joining me in the commentary booth just off of his pre-ride aboard Bully Tier B. We'll be seeing you later with your own test, Dom, and we thank you for joining us in the broadcast booth.
No worries, Jenny. Happy to do it. It's a soggy old day here in Aiken.
Yeah, Mother Nature not exactly treating us very kindly thus far.
But to be honest, though, it's actually letting up a bit now, and it feels a little bit better. Before it was kind of foggy and a bit sticky and gross, but the horses are starting to focus a bit better now. It's not quite so heavy. So looks like this test is going well.
Yeah, definitely. 30.2 is the score to beat. That's from your good mate Boyd Martin.
Oh, on Tsetsaleg.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are looking for somebody to crack into the 20s. But definitely not easy conditions so far this morning. A lot of tense horses that are really feeling the atmosphere.
I was really grateful to have gotten here a bit early yesterday and do the ring familiarization, because I was kind of shocked at how electric it felt when they went in there, and that was before yesterday, before they even had too many spectators in the tent. It's the horses are kind of going around the ring, eyeing off those cross-country jumps and kind of just feeling a little bit more on their toes than normal.
Well, it's early in the season. A lot of these horses haven't been out that much at all this year so far. So definitely a good opportunity to be able to shake off those cobwebs and ultimately prep for bigger competitions to come later in the season.
Definitely. And I was just actually talking to a couple of guys. This is quite a difficult test, and it shares a lot of sort of similar movements to the 5-star test that a lot of these horses will be doing in Kentucky. And put that foot down, boy.
Oh, final halt and salute for Doug Payne and Van Diver. Big cheers going up from that local Aiken crowd. And just really super to see this horse returning to competition after that period of time off last year. He's such a machine cross country. I'm definitely looking forward to watching him tear up Mark Phillips' track. So we are back underway after that brief break in the morning session. Boyd Martin and Tsetsaleg are the pair to beat. Dom, are we going to see anyone crack into the 20s today? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think we're going to see 3 or 4 people crack into the 20s. I think one of them is going to be Liz Halliday-Sharp. Yep. On Fernhill by Night. I think you've got a guy like William Fox Pitt sitting on such a lovely horse as Sandro Star, the stallion, I believe. I think that could definitely be a really good one. And actually, you know, you've got Alison Springer, you have Will Coleman. I mean, his other horse off the record was looking super yesterday. So I think we're going to see probably 4 or 5 at least crack the 20s today.
Yeah, we have a lot of extremely nice horses here. Such a class field at this Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase here in Aiken. And this next pair is definitely one that can throw down a good score. This is Hallie Kuhn with Celine. They delivered a huge personal best score at Poe last year in their 5-star debut, scoring 29.1 in that test there. So this is one that can absolutely crack the 20s, Dom.
Yeah, it was a super test, and I remember reading the when she discussed her test sort of after the fact, and she was talking about how she just basically rode it twice as much energy as she normally did, and in the ring the horse just looked awesome, and she got a fantastic score. So really class mare. Really
Hallie's produced the mare all the way through the levels. She's 12 years old now, owned by Helen Kuhn.
And she'd probably be having a big show on her radar, whether it's Kentucky or another overseas one. I'm sure she's got something in that she's targeting this mare for this season.
She is aiming her for Kentucky, which will be their second 5-star together, but Hallie's first Kentucky. And she is going to be going overseas to the UK this year to get that competition experience like we saw from her last year. I mean, it's unbelievably valuable to be able to go overseas to train and compete against the best in the world.
Yeah, these younger riders, these younger American riders, that you've got to be thinking about the future and who's going to be taking the place of some of the current guys, and so to get over there and deal with that pressure and see there's some stiffer competition as far as being exposed to other international riders, some of the other guys that make up the rankings. It's invaluable experience.
We saw this pair competing at Pine Top Advanced last week, and they did Test A there. This is Test B we have today, but they scored a 26.3 in Test A. So she's already thrown down a big test so far this season. That was just last week.
Yeah, this Test B, as I was saying earlier, it's definitely, there's a bit more to do, and it happens a bit quicker. And the changes being at C and A, and then after the canter half pass, they're kind of a little bit tricky. I think, especially for those of you that don't know a lot about dressage or don't follow it, you sort of have to start preparing these horses pretty early. You start thinking about which tests you're going to be doing and start getting really smooth and accurate with them, and so you'll sort of learn where to do the horses are clever, and they learn where they do the changes or where they do the canter, and so definitely I could see some horses sort of anticipating and maybe not quite getting it right, because this is still pretty early in the season.
Yeah, we've definitely seen numerous moments of that happening so far today. It's definitely a challenging test, but it's just so valuable to have this as an opportunity, especially for those horses going to Kentucky, to be able to get into this type of atmosphere and practice that with all those changes, having the same stretch circle.
Yep, absolutely. And then all this walk work is exactly the same too, the halt at sea, and then the rein back and the extended walk on the half circle, which is again great practice. And we just don't get super exposed at the horse trials week in, week out. We don't get a lot of atmosphere. We don't have the signs and the jumps and all the people in the tents so often. So then, in April when they rock up to that stadium, it's going to be a bit of a shock. So it's really great to have something like this on the calendar now, to just get these horses out and having to deal with a little bit more pressure than usual.
And I think we're all feeling pretty grateful to have a showcase back early in the season. We loved having that showcase running in Wellington for those 3 years. It hasn't run for 2 years, and now Aiken stepped in to take that place. It's just fantastic to have this.
Absolutely. It was really interesting watching and looking at the program and seeing all the sponsors. There's so many names on there that are kind of huge supporters of the sport. They're local. A lot of guys that have farms down here that come down for the winter. I saw like people like Fernanda Kellogg and Joyce Federino, and these guys that are really part of the equestrian community down here. It sounds like everybody's really stepped in to try and make sure this first showcase is a huge success, and so far it's going so well. The riders back at the barn are talking about just how great it is to have this opportunity, and also too, for a sport that's as hard as this, and the horses that have to train and be so good at 3 different jobs, it's nice to have the chance to maybe win some money, because we don't always get that.
Absolutely. $50,000 in prize money on the line with the presenting sponsor Liftmaster. we have to thank for that. And $5,000 going to 3 local charities. Dom, you were paired up with the Civic Ballet.
Well, you know me. I've always had a little twinkle in my step. You know, it was really fun last night, and you know, it was kind of interesting for me to see some of the charities. Some of them I knew and I've heard of, and some I hadn't heard of. So there's so many charities here doing great work, and what a great way to get involved with not only this event but also to help give back to the community in the form of these charities. But yeah, I think we're going to need a lot of remedial help if I'm ever going to do any kind of ballet. It doesn't come naturally to me.
Well, we can leave the dancing to the horses. And this is Hallie Kuhn with Celine. I think there's definitely been some really nice moments in this test.
It's almost like, it looks like she's gotten a bit softer as she kind of went, doesn't it? Like the horse came in a little anticipating, and then as she's gotten into the canter, the horse is starting to get a bit more relaxed in the ring. Because it's a very fine line, this dressage. You know, you have to have the flair, and you have to have this like fancy, you know, the power. You got to show the horse is well trained, but you can't tip over that line where the horse starts to get tense, because all of a sudden the marks can go from being very good to quite low in the blink of an eye. So you're just trying to always find that line where you can go for it without going too far. Oh.
Yep, so breaking to trot early there.
And then she thought about doing the halt there. It's kind of difficult for these horses. They anticipate a little.
Well, yeah, we've consistently seen that through the morning, because the horses just have it so drilled into their heads that we're halting now, we're halting now, we're halting now, and it's just tough.
Yeah.
So final halt and salute for Hallie Kuhn and Celine.
She's looking relaxed as she comes out of the ring now. Floppy ears.
Such a lovely mare, and Hallie, just 23 years old, but already has so much experience under her belt, having competed overseas now, and also one of the riders who has been named to our national training lists. She's on the potential training list now. So we have 2 riders who are under the age of 25 who have been called up to that list. So definitely exciting for the U.S. to have this up-and-coming talent.
Absolutely, yeah. No, you've always got to be planning for the next step, and it sounds like we've got some exciting riders coming through, for sure.
So we are waiting for someone to crack into the 20s. We just saw 2 strong tests from Doug Payne and Hallie Kuhn. We'll be bringing you those scores as they come in. We have that score for Buck Davidson and Errol Goby, 37.8 for 6th place. They are our first to go after that brief break. Boyd Martin and Satzerleg topping that leaderboard on 30.2, followed by Felix Vogt and Colero in second on 32.6, and Will Coleman and OBOS O'Reilly in third on 34.4. Those are your top 3 currently. And we have a big one coming up next, Dom. This is one that could go straight into the lead, and I expect will. It's Liz Halliday Sharp with Fernhill by Night. Liz so kindly joined us on the broadcast this morning. Probably got a little more than she bargained for as we were huddled from the rain.
getting drenched.
Getting drenched.
Yeah, no, this horse is super experienced. He would be Liz's kind of old sparring partner. Has been around a lot, and very, very, I mean, Liz is a very good dressage rider in her own right, but on this horse she's got a lot of experience with him. Yeah, if I was a betting man and I had to bet who was going to win this dressage today, I would probably bet on her. Yeah,
definitely. I think we could be looking at our test that's going to take the lead. Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night will be next. They have to beat 30.2. That's Boyd Martin and Satzerleg's leading score. They've scored in the 20s so many times, Fernhill by Night has. I think that they should easily sail into the lead, but
you never know.
You never know.
I know we actually ran at Liz's farm, and I was talking to her yesterday about the horse, and apparently he's the kind of the horse that you really got to ride to get forward. He's actually pretty chill.
Yeah.
So I think if anything, hopefully that little bit of atmosphere will probably just spark him up a bit and make him look even fancier.
Yeah, for a horse like Blackie, as he's known at home, this is actually the type of atmosphere that works for him.
Yeah.
Peps him up, puts that little extra sparkle in his step. So we should be anticipating a really nice test coming up from them next. But still a lot of other big names to come, like you said, William Fox Pitt with Sandro Starr, the stunning black stallion owned by Hannah Salazar, And Buck Davidson and Carlevo, final ones to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is who I actually think will ultimately sneak in and take that lead as the final test to go. Will I be right? You'll have to stay tuned and watch, because we still have quite a long way to go as we make our way through. We're not even halfway through this field yet.
Wow.
It really has attracted a class group of horse and riders.
Yeah, I mean, people have come from all over. I know we came up from Florida. There's several people came from Florida, people coming from up north, and then you've got your local riders as well. But yeah, I think we're just really excited to have yet another great top class event on the calendar, and you know, a chance to get them exposed to some atmosphere and hopefully put on a bit of a show and attract some new people to our sport.
Well, here is Liz Halliday Sharp now circling the arena with Fernhill by Night. He's 16 years old now, Irish Sport Horse Gelding, owned by her lovely mother Debbie. And like you said, Dom, her old sparring partner, they've been together for so long now, and she's stopped running him in long format, so saving him for short format and showcase events like this. And that has really paid off as a strategy with this horse. They were the winners in the short format 4-star at the Ocala Jockey Club last fall. That was a huge win for Liz and her team.
Yeah, he's it's nice to see that these horses that maybe sort of came to the end or towards the end of their long format careers still have a chance to be competitive in this sort of different side of the sport, you know, and he's proven that he can definitely be competitive at that. And you know, it's just nice for, you know, he's an athlete too. He loves doing his job, I'm sure, and it's great to be able to get him out and see him looking so well in himself. I mean, this is a super start to this test right now.
Yeah, starting out on a super note. And just to give everyone the perspective on how competitive this pair can be in this short format showcase type of competition. Last year they had 5 international runs at the short format 4-star level. They never finished outside of the top 10, and they were inside the top 5 3 times. So very, very strong contenders take the entire win here this weekend. And she's completely throwing down, Dom. She's going
she
for
really is. I mean, I think even if you, to the untrained eye, you can tell the difference in this horse, that he's willingly doing what she's asking him to do, and even though he's got that spring in his step, he's letting her really ride him and really go for it, and that is where you can cross over into those big marks. Yeah, I think if she continues like this and then gets all the changes clean, we're going to see a mid to low 20s test here. Right now she's on a great way.
Well, last season they never scored out of the 20s. So 5 tests, every single one of them in the 20s. The question, I think, at this point, if it continues on this trajectory, is how far into the 20s are they going to go?
Yeah. Hard to tell, but it looks like he corrected that to be perfectly square. From this angle, it looks like it is. He should stay fairly relaxed in the walk, because he's kind of a chill sort of guy. But
they scored 25.9 at Mill Street last year. That was their personal best last season. So very much capable of hitting those really low numbers. And Liz will be competing at Kentucky with her other top horse, De Niro Z. But this horse is now living the life of leisure, Dom, competing at these showcase events, and it's just, he's so in his element in this type of competition.
Yeah, you form a partnership with these horses over those years, and you start to sort of get to know, you know, riding them's kind of like putting on a old comfortable pair of shoes. You sort of know exactly what to expect, and they know what to expect from you. So once you've sort of reached this level in the sport and you've trained them all the movements that they're sort of familiar with it, you know, you pretty much, I'm sure Liz can just jump aboard Blackie and kind of kick him into gear and off they go now, you know. Whereas when you've got a younger horse that may be just coming up to the levels for the first time, you know, it tends to take a little bit longer for them to get really confident and comfortable in the ring. So far all the changes have been, or the 2 changes have been very clean and right where they were supposed to be, so that's a fantastic start.
Yep, so far so good for Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night, making her way through this canter work.
So we've got another change here, up here at the end at H. Looked like it was clean too. Don't forget the stretchy circle.
So I think we agree that this is going to be our new leader.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, the horse has just stayed super rideable the whole way through. You know, he just looks like he's doing exactly what she's asking for. And I think the judges will. I think the judges, it's Christian Landau
and Bobby Stevenson.
And Bobby, yeah. No, these guys are very well-respected judges in their own right. And I'm pretty sure they'll reward. Oh, yep. Give him a little kick there. So come on, boy.
4 for 4 clean changes. I mean, we could really nitpick and find things that Liz probably would have liked to have done a little differently, but I mean, really.
It's a solid, very solid test.
Yeah, super, super test.
Let's see if he anticipates the halt here. No, straight into trot. And she finishes off with a nice square halt here. Oh!
Oh, Blackie.
Blackie. One little extra step there, but no, she's got to be thrilled with that. Well, you know, Liz is a bit of a perfectionist, you know, with the dressage, because she's so good at it. I'm sure she'll come out and be like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, but ultimately, most of us would be thrilled to have even half that kind of work.
I mean, my goodness, yeah, I would kill for a test like that. Beautiful, beautiful test from Liz Halliday-Sharp and Fernhill by Night. We agree that that is going to be our new leader. The question is, how well into the 20s will they be exactly?
I think, you know, we're not sitting there in the judge's car, but it would be hard to say that she's not at least a rail ahead of Boyd right now on that test. I mean, so I'm thinking 24 or 25.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be somewhere around that range, I'd say. And talking to Liz, she knows that Buck Davidson and Carleva are the final pair to go. She knows that that's another combination consistently in the 20s in this phase, so she said she really wanted to throw down, try to get as much breathing room as possible, because she knows that she's a bit early in this order of go and that there are still some really strong combinations still to come. So fabulous performance from them.
Yeah, and it's, you know, looking at it as the great thing about our sport is this is just the first part, and we still got the show jumping this afternoon and then the cross country tomorrow. And, you know, these showcase events, you know, because they tend to be in a smaller area, the biggest challenge in the cross country, aside from the fact that there's massive jumps out there and difficult questions, is the time. You know, in order to stay quick but still have enough time to prepare and stay balanced for the turns, you know, a lot of times the time can be quite tough to make, and that could be the deciding factor for the overall weekend.
Definitely. We're looking for fast cross-country horses, and this is definitely one of them. Woodstock Bennett with Ryan Wood representing Australia, and a horse that it was fabulous to see make his comeback last year from an injury. Had a lengthy period of time off, but boy did he come back in a big way. Going to Pau last fall for his 5-star debut, finishing 8th in such a class performance. I know we were all delighted for Ryan to be able to go to France and throw down.
He really did, you know, and that was a tough event where a lot of the world's best riders, you know, had issues there, and Ryan's horse, Bennett, just looked absolutely class cross country, and he rode super. Interestingly enough, he's had this horse since it was 4 years old. He and Karen Simpson have, you know, they've produced this horse up the levels. This horse, actually, a little trivia, he was actually the novice horse of the year several years ago, did lots and lots of novices and was getting ridiculous scores like 15s and stuff on the flat. But yeah, he's just stayed the course the whole way through the levels and has now made a very nice, competitive 5-star horse.
And he's coming 12 years old this year, Irish sport horse. Is it really just coming into his prime now? I mean, we're only just starting to see what the horse is really capable of, which is so exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know Ryan, I think, has got his sights set on Kentucky this spring, and you know, and maybe possibly an overseas trip later in the year if all goes well. So, yeah, this is we were just sitting in the car hiding from the rain here earlier, going over this test and trying to make sure we don't forget this darn stretchy circle of canter. But yeah, it's starting out really nice here. Bennett's looking really consistent.
Yeah, he had just that tiny bobble in the beginning when he cantered out of the halt, unfortunately, that's not how you want to start things off, is that's the first impression that the judges have, but he's quickly corrected that and back on track.
Yeah, Bennett's looking like he's listening now. And a lot of times those little mistakes, they're almost the horse is a little too eager to please. They're trying to do the right thing, and sometimes they just you know, there's a little miscommunication. But yeah, he was really quick to correct it. This is looking quite good through this lateral work in the trot. He's creating a nice outline of the horse here.
Yeah, he has him in a super frame, and I think, talking about the horse coming 12 years old this year, he's now really built that strength to be able to carry himself that way throughout the whole test, and it really presents such a nice picture.
See Woodsy there just readjusting his legs and just letting them hang down. This is where, as the jockey, you're sort of trying to take a bit of a breath here and just keep the horses listening, and that they sort of don't switch off, that they know that there's still the counter work to come.
And Ryan's really worked hard to tighten their performance in this first phase. It wouldn't necessarily be the horse's strongest phase, but I think it's to the point now where it's just going to keep getting better and better. Yeah.
There's a little bit of, that's the nice part once they get to this level, is you can kind of go, all right, now they know everything they need to know. We just need to keep improving the quality of it, you know, and the strength of it. You're not having to really teach them any new movements once you get to this point. It's just putting them all together in the softest way you can. Or at least that's what we try to do.
That's the aim. Doesn't always work that way.
It's gonna get the change here at A. Nice clean change.
So we saw them out at Pine Top Advanced last week, ran in an open intermediate section there and won it, and scored a 27.1. So of course this is a higher level at the advanced level, but that would definitely be one of their better scores when we look at their record.
Yeah, definitely, and he's done two nice changes right on the money there, right at the marker. Maybe came a little bit against afterwards, but ultimately the change itself was what we're after.
And we have seen fairly consistently that as these tests have gone along, some of these horses have gotten to this point in the canter work and started to get tense. So it's a challenge to really be able to maintain that relaxation all the way through. And then the way you really test that is in this stretch circle. Yeah. That's when you find out if you have a horse that's really through and relaxed.
You let go of the reins and they take off a million miles an hour is never the nicest feeling, but Bennett stayed right there. Stayed listening, so that's good. Yeah, it's a little bit of a test that you stay focused yourself as the rider, that you don't get too far ahead and forget it, and then obviously if they feel like a time bomb when you get there, you're definitely going to see that tension come out. But
so looking for another clean change. There we go.
Got all four changes clean by the looks of that, which is always good, because those four marks, you know, if they're late behind or inconsistent, they can really sort of, even if the rest of the work is very good, you're still not going to be able to crack into that 20 range unless those changes are clean and correct. Oh, so yep, don't quite halt there, boy. Keep moving.
So final halt and salute for Ryan Wood and Woodstock Bennett. Nailed that final halt.
Absolutely.
Of that.
I think he's going to be really happy with that, considering that there was a little bit more atmosphere in there. I think he's going to be quite happy.
Yeah, for sure. We do have that score in for Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night, 28.7 to take the lead as we expected. I think we were thinking it might have been
lower, yeah, but that's okay. She'll still be happy with that.
She'll be thrilled to be sitting in the lead. That tops Boyd Martin and sets her leg score of 30.2. And also have the score in for Doug Payne and Van Diver. 30.8 has them in 3rd place.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So all changed so far as we've kicked off this second group. We have that new top 3, including that new leader, Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night on 28.7. But we expect that we're going to see, I would say, we will see multiple other tests of the 20. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
At least Buck Davidson and Carl Evo, and I think we'll see at least one other dude as well.
And then also too, Jenny Brannigan on Cambolda. Cambolda's another one of these horses that's probably a bit of an expert when it comes to this shorter format. I think he's won just about every CIC in the country at some point. So
yes.
he could be another one that could pull out a good test.
Yeah, with Caroline Martin back with Quantum Solace and Jenny back with Cambolda, it's like an old family reunion, isn't it? I love it.
It is.
Now we look to Colleen Loach and Corey Blue Dargouche representing Canada. Her Olympic, World Equestrian Games, and Pan American Games partner. He's 15 years old now, Saint-François Gelding, owned by Peter Barry. And this is such a fun partnership.
It really is. He would be a sort of a fan favorite amongst the riders. It's
Definitely.
always great to see Colleen and Corey at the shows. He's just a lovely, lovely horse. And, she's been riding him for such a long time now and done so much with him. They're so familiar. It's always nice to watch her ride him.
Finished 17th at Kentucky last year, and then going on to represent Canada at the World Equestrian Games at Tryon, and was first out of the start box on that course. Not an easy job to be Pathfinder at WEG, and he just skipped around like it was so easy.
She made it look like it was just a little horse trials.
Yeah.
She made it look so easy, and we saw later on that was not the case. There was a lot of trouble later on, but and Colleen herself, just in her riding, she's got lots of lovely horses competing across the levels, and she's just riding really well herself at the moment. As good as I've seen her in the last few years, she just is really on top of it at the moment. So I think you could see her put in a very competitive test that sort of puts Corrie kind of in amongst it for sure.
Absolutely, and they scored a 31.9 at Pine Top Advanced last week. They were 5th there in that section. So she's definitely capable of getting down into the 20s. We've seen them do that before at the level. So another one who could potentially be challenging that top of the leaderboard. He would definitely trend more towards the 30s, but it could happen, Don.
It definitely could.
Definitely happen.
He looks relaxed. He does not look tense,
he's a very cool customer. He stays really nice and relaxed in this face, so she can really ride him, which that's half the battle. Is you get on these fit, hot event horses and you can't really put your leg on, and
you want them to be silky smooth and rideable one day, and then you want them to be fire-breathing dragons the next. It's a tough job. They're serious athletes, these horses.
And this is the combination that was just named to Canada's top national squad. So definitely one who, you feel like they've been a mainstay at the top for Canada for such a long time now. And the horse is only coming 15 this year, so
hey, that's great.
Still plenty left to go in his career.
Let's see how he halts here. We can definitely see if the halt is straight.
Yeah.
It looks like it's pretty square.
And 5 steps in the rein back.
Yeah.
And then this medium walk. And then into the extended walk. You can see more people starting to fill in around the arena. Not great conditions for spectators this morning, but we expect more people to be rolling in, especially for this afternoon's show jumping.
Yeah, no, it might look quite grey, but it's actually not really raining now. Certainly not. You're not going to get super wet out in it. So I think this will be. People will start poking their heads out, because this morning it was definitely not. It was not a day you wanted to go out and stand in the rain to watch dressage in the morning. But it feels like it's fining up now.
So definitely a really nice, consistently relaxed test.
Definitely. Yeah, right here, through this section here, you're sort of having to have this conversation, and you're like, I know we sometimes do changes in a different spot, but today I want you to do it here.
Yeah,
Looks like he might have just gone a little together behind in the change there, which is not the worst thing in the world, but she's not going to be able to get like a super good mark for it.
Right.
That one looked like it was
clean.
Nice and clean.
He's sticking his tongue out
Yeah,
quite a lot.
Yeah, he saw him poke his tongue out there. Oh, I think is that Rolling Thunder in the background?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised at this point, considering the luck we've had with weather.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that might be thunder. That'll make things interesting.
Now in that stretch circle, and he still just keeps popping his tongue out, which he normally wouldn't do. And that will affect the collective marks with submission scores.
Keep your tongue in there, Corey. It's almost like he's like just sliding his tongue like up and down under the bit there. Good boy. But definitely not tense. That's the thing now. A few horses in a row now that haven't really got tense at all. So hopefully. See some of those fancy cross-country jumps in the background. They're so ornate, and if you're sort of from the area, you've ever driven through Aiken, you'll recognize a lot of the jumps are made from like Aiken landmarks.
A final halt and salute for Colleen Loach and Corey Blue Dargouge representing Canada. See her giving him big pats there. Yeah, the jumps, Dom, are really works of art. The same team that painted the jumps for the World Equestrian Games then came here to do the jumps, which all resemble iconic Aiken landmarks, and they really are stunning. So anyone who is going to come out tomorrow, you're in for a real treat. It is going to be a spectacular day of cross country. But first we have a busy day, dressage now, show jumping this afternoon. Next in will be Waylon Roberts with Lancaster, also representing Canada. And
Waylon's on a bit of a hot streak right now. I believe Lancaster has won his last two outings at the advanced level at Pine Top.
Yes, had a super go at Pine Top. He was just delighted for the horse to take the win there. Michelle and John Coppin, who own the horse, have just really been such fabulous supporters of Waylon with this horse, and have really, you know, given him the time to be able to produce the horse to this point. He's not always been easy, you know, they've had some blips along the way, but it's exciting when you start to see all the pieces really coming together. I mean, this sport is a process, Doc. We spend years and years getting the horses to this level, and it's so tough.
Yeah, and as you said, you know, Lancaster probably didn't always start out the easiest, but Waylon has really shown his... Lancaster just had a little peek over at the tent there, wondering what everyone's doing in there. Waylon's really shown his class as a horseman. You know, it would have taken a bit of thinking on his part as to the best way. You know, sometimes not every horse is the same. You can't train them all the same way. You have to adjust to certain things, and I think Waylon's proven, with the results that he's had, he's proven that he's really done right by the horse and really figured out the best way to ride him and train him. Horse looks amazing right now. He's starting to trim up and start looking a bit fitter and getting ready for the big ones later this.
Yep, he is aiming for a little event called called Kentucky with this horse. He's 12 years old now, Canadian sport horse.
It's a really lovely mover, and he just sort of floats her along the ground. The other thing about this horse too is he makes a really lovely shape. You know, the way his neck comes out of his shoulder, and just the outline that he presents in the ring is just, it's very easy to like the picture, I think. And so if he's relaxed and he's showing off that movement in a nice way, I think the judges really just have no reason but not to give him really good marks. Like, this is all looking just a really super outline.
And again, just coming 12 years old this year, he's only just now getting to the point in his career where he can really hold this outline consistently through the test. So we're only going to see these scores continuing to improve for this horse. He's pretty consistently in that, about that 33 range when you look at his international scores. At Pine Top, when he won, he had a 35.2, and that was also in this Test B. So he definitely would be looking to tighten that a bit closer to the lower 30s, and I think so far there's been a lot to like.
Absolutely, yeah. I think right now, aside from the fact he had that little tiny harmless peak at the very beginning, but ever since he's gotten into the trot and now into the walk, the horse is looking focused. So that's great. And you know, Waylon's also, he's kind of a triple threat. You know, he's a good rider at all three phases. So starting out with a competitive score, you sort of expect to see him on that score or close to it at the end of the competition as well.
Definitely. And when we talk about the cross country being influential, we expect tomorrow the time is going to be really what ultimately decides this. So you're looking for fast cross country riders like Waylon to really be able to potentially catch the top of that leaderboard, which is what we saw happen at Great Meadow last year in the Nations Cup. They had one of the faster cross country rounds and finished 7th there in a very strong field. So this horse is definitely
quite a fast horse. Yeah,
this horse is definitely one to watch this weekend. See him just coming above the bridle a little bit there in that canter transition. But you see he comes right back to Waylon. He has those little moments where he might lose a bit of focus, but he comes right back.
Yeah, and I think that I think across the diagonal there is supposed to be medium canter, and I'm wondering if Waylon is kind of using this test. He's a little bit braver in that one. He's probably most likely just trying to teach the horse a little something here and say, I don't want you to kind of run off with me in the medium canter, so that he can have a chance to do the better change at the end. So he might just be using, you know, sort of sacrificing getting not the best mark for the medium in order to kind of teach the horse in the ring, because like it or not, you know, when you get into the arena at the competition, it's always a little bit more, a little different, a little more tense than it is at home, and you don't always get lots of opportunities to do that. So probably just being a smart horse trainer there.
Well, and again, of course, Waylon's going to have the bigger picture in mind for this season. He is preparing for Kentucky. So being able to use this test as an opportunity to, you know, take some of those things for a test drive maybe that he might be thinking about that he wants to work on as he gears up for that big spring event. Yeah,
this sport is very much you have to constantly step back and look at the big picture, and like you said earlier, it takes such a long time to produce them to the level, and so much goes into just getting them ready for a big show. You know, you sort of have to sometimes think, okay, whether you run them fast at this event or you don't, or you maybe take a few chances or you try something new in the ring, it's all try to get the best possible performance at the right time. Just took a stride or two there to get the hind legs through, but Waylon just stayed still and didn't panic.
And the changes are something that, you know, some horses have a clean change from the day they're born, some do not, and it just really can take a very long time to really get those right.
Absolutely. You know, and for us as event riders too, we don't just have the luxury of being able to just train dressage every day. You know, their horses have so many other things they have to be doing, so it's not always so easy on certain horses, and you know, it's a process sometimes. Sometimes it can take a year or two for them to consistently get the clean change.
So that is final halt and salute for Waylon Roberts and Lancaster, representing Canada. Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night are our pair to beat, 28.7, our only score in the 20s so far, as we make our way through. Approaching the halfway mark. I'd say actually we're about halfway through this field now. 36 in all who are coming forward. We have a score in for Hallie Kuhn and Celine, 36.3. That has them in 8th place. And also Ryan Wood and Woodstock Bennett, 35.1 for 6th. So we're definitely seeing some tough judging. Consistently tough, though, across the board from our ground jury of Christian Landolt and Bobby Stevenson. Just the one score in the 20s. We expected Liz Halliday Sharp to take the lead. She did. Beautiful test with Fernhill by night. Yeah, no, she really did perform the way we thought she might. And we are seeing a few tougher scores for sure. You know, like Ryan's test, 35. That's definitely, at the same time, too, it's a bit different us looking at a screen versus being down there beside the ring. Yes. Sometimes there might be certain things you might not be able to see, but they're definitely not just giving the free marks out today at all. No, definitely a tough day in the sandbox for our competitors in the Liftmaster Grand Prix Eventing Invitational Showcase. Next in is Sarah Gumbiner with Polaris. Definitely a fan favorite who stormed around there first Kentucky last year and I think won a lot of fans in the process. Absolutely. This is Polaris, Larry as he's affectionately known, and Sarah's just done an absolutely super job producing him. And this I would say this phase would be the toughest one for Larry. He's a beautiful horse. He's exactly what you sort of want in an event horse. He just sometimes the tension of the flat work sometimes gets to him a little bit in the ring. I was really pleased to see Sarah post a video of Larry. I think it was his first outing of the year at Pine Top earlier this season, and Larry did this like really calm, soft test. And for those of you that have followed along with her, you probably know that that's a big step for him because he can sometimes have a little bit of a tantrum in the dressage. Yeah, she's worked so hard to get him to a place where he will tolerate this phase. Yeah. He's 14 years old now. Irish sport horse bred by Phyllis Dawson. And she, when you see the horse jump and you see him go by cross country, you know straight away why she keeps trying so hard with him, because he's just a fantastic jumping horse and such an athlete. And looks, Sarah's not the tallest rider, and he's got this big, powerful jump, and it must take some strength and balance to stay with him even, because he's just so powerful. Definitely. He is an absolute cross-country machine. They are aiming for a return trip to Kentucky. See, she's just trying to manage the tempo on him, just probably trying to use that as a way of just keeping him consistent, because she might feel like she's sitting on a little bit of a time bomb. We don't always know what they're feeling. She might know that if she goes for too much, it might just send him over the edge. So she's just trying to manage his tempo there and keep his focus. Yeah, it's such a balance with these really fit, hot event horses. Dressage can almost be like a negotiation. Yep. Where you know that you can't push for too much, especially with a horse like this. I think she'll be, once she gets through this walk, she'll be sort of grateful to get into the canter and kind of get him moving again. Yeah, you can see her trying to stay really loose with her body and just stay relaxed. And yeah, you can just see, if you watch his head, he's just having a little peek out the right eye. So from that angle, that's where the tent is, with probably lots of people huddled in there. So he's probably just taking a little bit of a peek over and checking them out, but thankfully he didn't take too much offense to it. Definitely more people starting to gather around the arena now. It's still raining on and off a bit. It's definitely quite chilly, so yeah, I'm actually going to put my jacket on right now. It's just cooled down a little bit. Yeah, not the most ideal conditions necessarily, making it challenging for the horses and riders. But it's an all-weather sport, Dom. Absolutely. Rain, hail, or shine. Eventers, we do it all. I think lightning is the only thing, or if the water jumps frozen over. That's pretty much the only thing that's going to stop our competition from going. And to be fair,
that's how we train them too. So the horses aren't. This is nothing new for them to have to go in a little bit of rain. I'm sure they get ridden in the rain at home too. All the way through the corner here. Counter. Just making sure he doesn't get too frisky there.
Yeah, not a horse you would always go for it with the extended canter.
you might end up going down the end and jumping out if he's.
You might end up in the next county. So definitely a tactful test from Sarah Gumbiner and Polaris, a cross-country machine who tolerates this phase because he knows what comes next. But I mean, you can't help but love him.
No, he's everyone sort of knows Larry and keeps up with him, and it's just, you know, it is one of these things. She's kind of constantly try and chip away, and he will have his day, I'm sure. You know, he'll have his day where he stays really relaxed in the arena and she'll get that good score, but ultimately he's a consistent, safe jumping horse, and that's sort of what you need to start with in this sport. Definitely. And build on that. You know, it's not the other way around. She's got to do this last canter half pass right with the change left, and then sort of home free after this. That was a clean change right there.
Good boy, Larry.
A little bit ahead of the marker, and he just got a little bit spooky and changed back in the corner there, but the initial change was definitely clean.
Well, and it's especially for a horse like this that's heading to Kentucky and is quite spooky about atmosphere. It's so valuable to be able to bring him here. Of course, this is much smaller than Kentucky, but it's still quite a bit more atmosphere than we would have at a lot of our early spring events.
Absolutely. No, it's a really good sort of dress rehearsal, if you will. And the feeling is, you know, if you're not a rider yourself, it sort of almost feels like they're a little bit electric on the floor. They sort of get a little bit more bouncy and a little bit more looking and a little bit more reactive. So she's giving him a big pat there and sort of said, "You got through it, buddy." Well done.
Final halt and salute for Sarah Gumbiner and Polaris, or Larry as he's known to his friends. Definitely one that you're going to want to watch tomorrow because he is some cross-country machine.
He sure is.
And just as a reminder to everyone, we will be streaming the dressage through to about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Then there'll be a break and show jumping will kick off at 4 o'clock. So you're going to want to tune back in. Cross country is tomorrow at 2:30. Now we have Lisa Marie Ferguson and Honor Me, our next pair into the ring representing Canada. Competed at the World Equestrian Games for Canada last year. This is another horse who would not be so fond of this phase, but is an unbelievable cross-country horse.
And so fast. He's just so efficient and so quick. And he's got quite some interesting breeding, this horse. You know, that's a cool thing about eventing. You know, if you compare it to, say, straight dressage or straight show jumping or even any of the Western disciplines, there tends to be one breed that is dominant and is the one that you're most likely to see. And the good thing about eventing is you'll see all kinds of different horses. German horses, Irish horses. In this case, I'm pretty sure this horse has got some Welsh pony in him.
He's by a Welsh pony stallion and out of a thoroughbred mare. So bred in Canada. Yeah, would not see Welsh pony in very many event horses.
But it just, you know, in this instance, it works for him. He's a hardy little guy. And he's been going for quite some time now, and just consistently too. You know, he runs a lot of big events, and he's a really good boy cross country for sure.
Yeah, very experienced now. He's coming 13 this year. Lisa's produced him all the way through the levels, and that smile on her face after cross country with this horse at WEG was just beaming ear to ear. She was so proud of him. And like we said, that was not an easy day for a lot of people. Some of the best in the world caught out at Wagon. This horse just went around like it was the easiest thing in the world for him.
Yeah,
he just does it for fun.
He really does. And it's kind of, when you're sitting on these horses and you start to get a little feeling like they might be giving you that bit of tension, you're actually looking forward to, like, say, the shoulder in and stuff here, because it gives you a chance to direct that energy into something constructive. You can get your leg on them and kind of push them and, you know, try and exert it in a positive way, rather than feeling like it has to be sort of kept quiet or bottled in. That tends to be when they start to get the most tense. So, you know, as this trot here that's coming up, she'll just be able to push him forward and actually kind of burn some of that extra fuel off. Oh, easy boy. He's kind of licking his chops a bit too, isn't he? He's got his tongue.
Yeah.
Not so much stuck out of his mouth, but he's just kind of licking.
And that would just be a bit of how he goes in this phase. Lisa knows him very well, always trying to work on that dressage. It's tough when you have a horse that's like this, who is just trends more towards being tense in this phase.
And especially, you know, these horses aren't stupid. They see those jumps as they're going in, and you have to actually kind of warm up around them. They know what's coming. They know the order. You know, this is not his first rodeo, so it's probably a little bit trickier for a horse like him, having the jumps so close to the ring. But she's doing a good job here. She's just trying to manage him as best she can. Put that tongue away, boy.
Having a bit of a negotiation about the rein back.
Yep.
Now she'll just hope that he will walk Tally. His name is Tally. To his friends at home.
Easy boy.
Well, and you can, just looking at him, you can tell that he's a complete machine on the cross country, and he's definitely a leaderboard climber. At Great Meadow last year in the Nations Cup, he was one of the only horses to make the time, and I think moved up over 20 places on the leaderboard. Just shot straight up.
That's awesome.
And finished 8th.
I like how he's got that little white streak in his tail. And she's like, phew, that's over, let's get cantering.
Yeah, is there a worse feeling than sitting on a horse trying to get it to walk and knowing that it wants to just completely explode?
Yeah, you sort of just get relieved that you can get going again and do something. You're like, no boy, don't change just yet, don't change yet. And now you can change.
So Lisa Marie being as tactful as she can on a horse that is very ready to go cross country tomorrow.
She was named, I think, just this week to the high performance group for Canada,
along with Colleen. Yes, she is also one of the Canadian riders named to that top national squad. And of course, we have quite a battle set at the Pan American Games this year, with USA and Canada both needing to qualify for the Tokyo Olympic Games. So a number of the riders who you see here today will ultimately go on to represent their countries at those Pan American Games.
And that's in Lima, Peru, correct?
Lima, Peru.
Yeah, interesting.
First week of August.
Don't forget the stretchy circle.
Are you preaching that to yourself?
Yeah, honestly, I might actually just be telling myself that. This has been kind of nice to watch a few and hopefully get that instilled in the deep recesses of my brain.
So we have that scoring for Waylon Robertson Lancaster, 35.5, has them in 8th place.
Okay, so there's sort of a group of them around that mid-30 range that are all going to be very, very close.
Rails this afternoon are going to be very costly. It's so tightly bunched. Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night are the leaders on 28.7. Then Boyd, Martin, and Setzerleg on 30.2 in second. And honestly, that's the biggest gap on the leaderboard. Everybody else is separated by 1 penalty or less.
You know, and in the show jumping, one rail cost you 4 penalties, and the time faults too. You know, that's another thing, is sometimes in order to jump a clean round or to take that little bit extra time, you've also got to manage your speed and make sure that you don't end up paying the price with the time faults too.
Definitely.
And especially when they're that close, you know, even just a few seconds can make a difference.
So that's final halt and salute for Lisa Marie Ferguson and Honor Me representing Canada. 5 more to go before the lunch break. And Dom, you'll be first out after the lunch break with Bully Tier B.
Yeah.
And you will remember your stretch circle,
yeah.
as we've determined.
I'll try to anyway. And it looks like, well, so there's a little bit of a break there after. Okay, yeah, a little afternoon break there.
Yeah, we have a 40-minute lunch break, but still 5 more to go before that.
You'll see lots of signs there around the arena for some of the many sponsors that have made this weekend happen.
Yes, a lot of generous sponsors bringing you this action live here on EQTV Network. The rain is falling again, Dom. We just can't get a break with the weather here in Aiken.
Yeah, a little soggy today, but you know, to be honest, it's a little bit better than it was earlier. At least it's not like getting drenched like poor Will Fordry. I felt so bad for him trying to do his dressage in the pouring rain.
Yes, even his hardy Irish horse was unhappy about the situation.
A little too much.
So back now with Clayton Fredericks and Luxor are next to go, representing Australia. Clayton, one of the most experienced and decorated riders in the field.
Definitely. He's got a wealth of experience. He was based in England for a very long time, and you know, he's been to lots of championships and lots of 4 or 5 star events around the world. This is actually a horse I'm not that familiar with, and I think he's that's
Lily Geelan would normally ride it.
Right.
And Clayton took on the ride last year. So he had it in the Nations Cup at Great Meadow, and then also in the short format 4-star at Stableview, finished 7th there. But it would be the oldest horse we have in the field. He's 17 years old this year, and he's actually Polish bred.
Polish?
Yes.
Interesting. Clayton himself is no slouch in this phase. He's would be another one that would be sort of a triple threat, but very good dressage trainer and rider.
And they've, in their 2 international tests together, averaging just at that 34 score mark, which actually would be quite competitive on this leaderboard.
He's quite a fancy horse, isn't he? A bit of a loose mover, which the judges always like to see. And we had a good fun last night at the welcome party and the Calcutta. And we talked about earlier, you know, it was a great initiative of the organisers to get involved with some of the local charities and to raise money. And I think Clayton went for over $1,000 last night.
Yes, the riders were auctioned off in order to start off those donations to the charities, which was fantastic. And then there's an additional $5,000 that will be split between the top 3 riders and then donated to their charities. Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. And just a great evening for everyone to kind of get together. And, you know, during the winter season, there's sort of 2 main places where people base for the winter if they don't stay up north, and one of them is here in Aiken in South Carolina, and the other is in Ocala, Florida. And so it's kind of nice at events like this that kind of brings everybody from everywhere, and we can all kind of catch up and get together a little bit at these nice events. Ooh.
So scoring for Colleen Loach and Corey Blue Dargouge, 33.4 to slot into 5th place.
Oh, wow, that's good. She's right amongst it there.
Yeah, she'll be very, very happy with that score. And that's just about where this combination averages Clayton Fredericks and Luxor.
He was a little clever there. For a moment, the walk just looked like it might start to get a little bit tense, and you could just see how he positioned him and kind of got his inside leg on there and just kind of cooled him a little bit, and then now got him to a bit of a more stretchy walk, which was great.
So just the one score in the 20s thus far, as we're halfway through this field of 36. 28.7 is the score to beat. That's Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night. Clayton Fredericks and Luxor making their way through their test.
And you got to come right back here, kind of get them positioned, and then ask for the change. It wasn't the easiest. It looked like it might have been one stride late, or late within the stride.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite tell there.
It's a little tough to tell on that angle.
This one will be a little bit easier to see. Do you can or half pass over to S, get straight, and then right at H. That one looked like it was clean.
So this horse is coming 17 years old this year, which is, it's awesome to see these horses staying at the upper levels later into their careers. You're seeing that more and more now with horses being able to compete longer.
Yeah, they sort of, they get all the care and attention that any top athlete would get, you know, the vet work and body work and, you know, planned diets, and it's quite the process to maintain a horse at this level. But all the time, I think, you know, people are learning better ways to manage the horses and keep them healthy, and yeah, that one was clean too. So definitely the last two changes were clean, which will help bring those scores up a bit.
And Clayton has a number of horses going advanced this season in his quest to get back to representing Australia at championship level. He definitely is firmly on the hunt to hopefully go to Tokyo.
Yeah, for sure. Good boy.
Final halt and salute for Clayton Fredericks and Luxor, owned by Lily Gielen. The only Polish horse we have in the field.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think he'd be quite happy with that. The horse looked like he stayed pretty relaxed. Quite a few Aussies here this weekend.
You're taking over, Dom.
Yeah, apparently.
Aussie invasion. So 4 to go before this lunch break. You see here, this is Ellie O'Neill and Zeta. Zeta the Cheetah, as Ellie calls her. I really like this mare. She's a spicy little thing. 12 years old, Holsteiner, owned by Sally Cox.
And Ellie and her husband Alex, both very good riders, and set up their base down there in Ocala at the moment at I think it's Redtail Ridge Farm, and developing really nice string of horses. Ellie's is the lovely rider. This mare looks like, just from what I've seen in her the last couple shows, she definitely looks like she's got a little spicy side to her, but quality too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, this mare just stepped up to advanced level last year. Had competed to the 4-star level with Vincent Martins in Belgium, and so then stepped up with Ellie last season. So they've gotten quite a bit of mileage together with their partnership now.
Definitely a sporty type, like a bit more of a sports car for sure. It could be a tough thing, you know. We've sort of, this weekend we're seeing a bit more of a snapshot of the sport. It's a little bit of a shorter format versus, say, events like Kentucky where they have to run for, you know, 11 minutes plus, and it really sort of shows you then, it brings into perspective the type of horse that suits the sport. And, you know, you will see a variety of different types and outlines, but this horse definitely looks like the one that could gallop for 11 minutes.
Yeah, she definitely can get hot in this phase, so that's something that Ellie's really worked on. She trains with James Birtwell in the dressage. He's also Liz Halliday's dressage trainer.
She's off to a nice start right here. Looks like she's keeping her pretty rideable.
They scored a 34 last year at Aiken in the short format 4-star. That was their best test of the level to date. So definitely capable of getting into those lower 30s numbers, which on this leaderboard would be quite competitive. Still just that one score in the 20s. Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night leading on 28.7. I mean, the mare is just so powerful.
Yeah, I mean,
so much push.
She just went up about 3 gears there. May hear a little roll of thunder there.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say though is it kind of feels like it might be going around us, the storm part of it. It's still not getting too dark and gloomy here. It's staying.
Well, that would be fabulous if it could do that.
Stay a mile or two up to the side there.
We've not had much luck with the weather so far today. So if it could decide to go a bit around us, that would be brilliant.
Looks like the mare has kind of just gone to a bit of a more relaxed place, sort of as she's gone into this bit of lateral work. Oh wow.
Well, we've just taken a look at the weather radar, and it's not looking great at all.
It appears we're sort of in a little bit of a pocket right now, but there's a lot of green and blue heading in our direction.
There's also a lot of yellow and red that might be barreling down at us, or it could miss us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Your guess is as good as ours, but we will be here regardless.
Absolutely.
Dom, you might be riding in a torrential downpour.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I really can't say. I don't know if Bolly B is going to enjoy that, and or if he's going to light him up. I really don't know. Yeah,
we definitely have wind picking up, but I think that the mare's staying pretty relaxed.
Yeah, and I think
looks good.
She's going to get in this canter here, and
yeah,
I think Ellie's going to be happy that she's made it through here, and the mare stayed rideable. And she's riding this horse in a double bridle, but you can see the second rein, the curb rein, is for the most part staying quite loose, which is good. You're sort of showing that the judges that even though you have the double bridle on, that you're not having to rely solely on the curb. Yeah, that was a nice change right there. This is actually it's not that I should be that surprised. Ellie's a really nice rider, and this is a lovely horse, but she's definitely putting in a good performance here. One of the better ones we've seen. I don't know if my dressage eagle eye could really. I think that might have been late within the stride.
Yeah.
But
like you said, I think a lot to like about this test.
Yeah.
And I think it would definitely be flirting with matching their personal best at this point. She did her half 10
one letter too soon.
Yes.
Okay, so she changed her mind. Oh, right. She did a half circle and went, oh, no, there's no way I'm going to be able to get my half price in to get my change. So, but she quickly corrected it, got down there. They'll unfortunately have to give her an error for that, which will be like a 2 penalty added to the score, but at the end of the day, it'll hurt her a little bit, but not so much to sort of really throw the test away. She'll be kicking herself a little bit about that, because she's actually really got the mare in a nice place right now.
Yeah, just one of those moments where you're kicking yourself, but it happens.
It happens.
Well, that was a lovely change.
Really? This is a super exciting horse for Ellie to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Just turning 12 this year, only just barely scratching the surface of what she's capable of at this level.
Oh, unfortunately, she just anticipated a bit there and did a change halfway down the center line. All little things, though. It's not. It's sort of polishing stuff, isn't it? Rather than
definitely.
You can see that horse doing a really, really nice test in the not too distant future. Good on you, Ellie.
Final halt and salute for Ellie O'Neill and Zeta. Mare looking quite proud of herself.
Yeah, I think she might be one of my new favorite mares.
Yeah, I adore her. She's so cool. She really is so cool. So 3 now to go. As we make our way to the lunch break. Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night leading on 28.7.
So there's quite a good turnout in the VIP tent up there.
Excuse me, do you know what number just went?
Do you know what Ellie's number is? No. Eleanor O'Neill.
Okay.
Will Coleman and Off the Record will be our next to go.
So I got a chance to see Will riding this horse around yesterday afternoon. And I got to tell you, the horse looked really something. He really looked super fancy in the trot work, at least a little bit I saw. I actually think that these next 2 horses could definitely be ones that kind of insert themselves, if not at the top, very close to it.
Yeah, definitely. This Off the Record horse is one that can get into the low 30s. And we've seen him in the 20s at the 3-star level. So can he do it at the advanced level? So just to catch you up on scores, 35.5 for Clayton Fredericks and Luxor. That ties them for 8th place with Waylon Roberts and Lancaster. Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night still leading on 28.7, followed by Boyd Martin and Setzerleg on 30.2, and second, Doug Payne and Van Diver in third on 30.8. Those are your top 3 as we make our way to the lunch break. Dom, you'll be first to go after the lunch break.
Oh, yeah, no, we'll put our white pants on and try and keep it together. Try and remember the stretchy circle.
Yes, don't forget the stretchy circle. That is the theme of the day.
Yeah.
Theme of the day has also been rain. It is still continuing to come down. The radar is not looking promising, unfortunately, but it's an all-weather sport, Dom.
Yeah, rain, hail, or shine. It actually, the good thing is we're on footing here today in these really, really lovely rings here at Bruce Field, so it shouldn't make too much difference as far as the going goes for the horses, but yeah, you'll get a little damp, I think.
Yep, definitely a day to wear your rain boots and have an umbrella if you're coming out today to Bruce's Field to watch. We have show jumping coming up later this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and then cross country will be tomorrow. It is going to be a turn and burn type of track, Dom.
Yeah, and exciting, especially if this weather holds up the way it is, and that's definitely going to change things once you get off the footing and onto the turf there, which a lot of the course runs on the turf around the place here. So it's going to be very exciting. I think it could be anyone's game, really.
It's certainly going to be difficult to predict a winner based on the fact that time penalties are almost certainly going to determine who ultimately wins. It is going to be a race against the clock, and one that is ultimately benefiting the community because of the ride for charity that's also taking place here at the showcase. It's just wonderful to be able to give back to the community that way.
Yeah, there were so many great charities in the community that came out last night and got their rider auctioned off. So it's just a little extra bit of excitement for the charities that to see if their rider is going to be one of the ones that takes some of that $5,000 extra.
Yes.
So yeah, what a great idea to give back to the community here.
And $50,000 in prize money on the line. Also fantastic to have the opportunity to go for that prize money because we don't really get a lot of prize money in this sport.
No, and it's an expensive sport, so a lot of these horses will have owners. It'd be a great to come home with a check to sort of offset some of the expenses that go into these guys. And yeah, I know as one of the people competing here, we're really thankful to have an opportunity to even if you don't win the money, just the chance to be able to get something is always great.
Yep. Definitely fantastic to have this showcase added to the calendar early in the spring season to kick things off. Fantastic to be able to get the horses into this type of atmosphere as well. And we're going to thank our sponsors while we wait for our next horse, and I'm also going to bid adieu to Dom Schramm, who's going to go get ready for his test. Thank you, Dom, for joining us.
No worries. Fingers crossed. Don't be too mean to me. My dressage coach is actually going to be the one replacing me. So good luck.
We are delighted to welcome James Birtwell to the broadcast. James, welcome.
Morning.
Morning. So, looking to the tests that we've had thus far, what is your impression of the quality of the dressage we've seen so far today?
So far, there's been some nice relaxed tests.
Right.
I think the horses that have made sort of mistakes and tensions, I think would be expensive. And it's a real good test. I mean, it's a real test of the suppleness, the obedience. It's a cold, wet day here, so it's some of the fit horses are going to really struggle. But it's a real test of training. So far, so good.
So far, so good. And your student, Liz Halliday Sharp, is in the lead with Fernhill by Night.
Yes, no, he did a good test. We didn't have the longest warm-up, which usually suits the horse, so that was good. The cold weather usually helps him.
Right.
He's usually a little bit on the quieter side rather than tense, so it's like managing a different set of reactions. So we're pleased. I know Liz is pleased, so that's good.
So this is our next to go. It is Off the Record with Will Coleman, and this is also a horse that you're familiar with, James.
Yep. I've seen this horse a few times with Will, so it'll be interesting. This will be one of his first tests I've seen, actually. From the back view it actually looked quite a square halt, but from the side view the right hind was out, so that'll be often where you get the differences in the judges' marks, is just the view is very different, but that is the job of the side judge, to check the clarity. He's a very elegant rider as well, very correct. Almost classical in his approach, which is good. The horse is moving in nice, good rhythm. What will keep the judges from the big marks will be occasionally just gets a little bit unsteady in the connection and the balance. And it is that fine line between managing the energy and going for those big marks. That's what the riders have to really. They're at this showcase. There's big prize money as well as the actual doing well, but they've got to go for it. They've got one chance.
And this is a horse we've seen have quite a bit of success with Will already. He's 10 years old this year, owned by the Off the Record Syndicate Irish Sport Horse. He was the winner in the Nations Cup at Great Meadow last year, thanks to having one of the fastest cross-country rounds.
And this is an interesting movement, the half pass to the circle, to the sort of change of bend, to the new circle. There's a lot shows like there. You could see the horse lost his straightness over the centre line, so the judge at C will see that. So it's a really quite a tricky movement to be done well. You'll see a lot of horses struggle, and then again half passing into the corner at M, the horses can really back up and you can lose the fluency. And we come into the halt. 3, 4. And what the judges are looking for there is that the halt is clean and immobile. Ideally for the 10, what the judges are looking for is a square halt with the ears forward. For the rein back, they're looking for the horse to move relaxed in diagonal pairs without the horse lowering its poll or losing its balance or shooting back or any reluctance. So the steps look fairly clean. Step 1 looked a little bit reluctant but then got better. But again, that's really the judge at C there, right there. To be fair to judge at C though, sometimes when you're in those cars you can't really see really close up to you, depending on the actual design of the car, and the cars are supposed to be sort of 5 meters away, so sometimes your view is a bit restricted. I know when I'm judging I'm sort of rolling around sometimes trying to find the best view. And again in the walk we're looking for relaxation, clarity of steps. There they look like a little bit of tension creeping in the collected walk. Good clean transition out. And then for the big canter we're looking for uphill tendency and pushing from behind, and then the clear collection and suppleness back before the flying change. So the change was clean. There was a little bit tension the stride before, which would keep me from the big mark, but it was clean. And again, clear transitions in now to the big canter, keeping the suppleness, a bit more uphill tendency. Clean change from my view. I'm sort of squinting at a screen, but it is looking clean. The slight issue sometimes with horses with a little white blaze at the front is if there is slight movement in the head, it's really much more obvious. I'd like a little bit more suppleness and carriage for the bigger mark, and so I see some more resistance as he came back. Yeah, seems to slightly hesitate the stride before the change. Depending on the judge's view, it is clean. They just may not want to go above a 7. And again, for the stretching, we're wanting the horse to sort of seek the bridle down and out, and the wither to remain up, and keep the carriage, and no adjustment really to the tempo of the canter. And this is really the only part of the test where they actually sit quiet. It's after the stretch, they just have that long straight line before the half turn back to the half pass. So it's the one time the riders can really actually generate. So if you watch the riders on that bit of canter, you'll really tell the more experienced riders are trying to really influence the canter before they turn. And there again, the canter shortened a little bit before the change. It was clean, but for the big mark, you'd want it just to look a little bit more like butter melting on toast. It should just look super smooth. You sort of know it's coming. But you know, Will's a professional rider and he's getting every mark out of this. It's great.
So coming down to that final halt and salute.
Yeah, that's almost the hardest. That's almost the hardest transition from especially these more experienced horses. Is they expect to halt on that. And that's why it's there. It is a test. This is a dressage test. It's a test of training. And ultimately, the canter trot transition is something we do a lot with the younger horses or the lower level training. A lot of riders at this high level, especially also in pure dressage, they'll go walk, canter, canter, walk. But the canter, trot, canter, as most of my riders will know, is a real test of the throughness. And so you want to make sure that transition is always installed. But these riders would have known that transition was there, hopefully, and they would have practiced to install it before this competition to make sure the horses don't misunderstand. The horses aren't being bad or wicked, they're just making sure that misunderstand.
So Will Coleman and Off the Record completing their test. 2 more to go before this lunch break. Boyd Martin returns with his next ride. This is Ray Price, one of his homebreds. Of course, is 11 years old now. Thoroughbred cross.
I often get asked by riders, you know, what should I do around the outside of the arena? You know, what will the judges think? And I'll say, well, to be fair, the judges are usually finishing the sheet from the previous rider. But as a judge, you don't start judging until they come down the centre line. I deliberately, if I see a horse misbehaving or doing something unusual, I will look away, because I want to see from the moment it comes in at A. I don't want to, you know, cloud my judgment. You are judging the test, but I think some riders will get a little bit sleepy and quiet. You know, use the outside of the arena, get the horse used to letters, used to car, especially with today's weather. You want to get your horses near the windscreen wipers. Otherwise, the first time they sort of can see them moving is when they come down that centre line, and that's an expensive movement.
So the horse looking relaxed as he circles the arena.
Yeah, it looks really chilled. Boyd's saying, please hurry up and ring the bell. It's like, come on, hurry up. And that is can be annoying when you're sort of waiting and you're ready. Again, my advice is if you've got a horse that is a bit tense, is as soon as that rider before you halts and salutes to finish, is get in, get the horse really relaxed and familiar with your environment, so that you can then ride every mark you can. It's getting the horse relaxed so you get the same feel outside. So it's good canter in, a little bit loss of balance into the actual halt, good move off, should still get a fairly good mark. The judge at the side would possibly be lower because he saw the sort of loss of balance, but the horse looks really relaxed. I mean, what we're looking for under the FEI directives, which is the main rule book of our sport, is that is relaxation, especially with event horses. It's not to be confused with the horse being slow or quiet. It's relaxed energy. And I think this looks quite smooth. Yeah, I'd like a little bit more. He's going through the motions. I'd like clearer transitions, a little bit more pizzazz for the high marks. Little quiet. That's a little bit better. Again, it's a nice picture. It'll be interesting to see. Everything looks very smooth, but that could be again that he's not asking as much as some of the other riders. So it's a gamble you pick on the day. Hopefully the judges reward the risk, as long as it then doesn't become too detrimental to the balance or the transitions. But it's a pleasing picture, and again, Boyd sits very well. It's very easy to watch.
He's sitting in second place currently with his other mount, Setzer leg, on 30.2, and this horse is perfectly capable of getting down into that score range. Personal best is a 29.1 from Jersey Fresh last year.
I would, at the moment, and obviously the canter's a big influence at the moment, it's not doing anything majorly wrong, but I like it a little bit more energy, more expression. Yeah, a little bit more expression.
Yes.
Everything's just a little bit quiet. Those steps, again, we didn't have the best view here from the screen. I'm not sure there was enough number of steps, and they weren't the straightest from our view.
The horse definitely very quiet, quite the opposite of what we've seen from a lot of horses.
Absolutely, I was watching some others, they got really electric. There was a little bit of tension there in the walk, but again, the judges should really be marking up the quality. The little blips shouldn't be too damaging, as long as it is a blip. There's just a little bit of tension on the connection, so and there again. So that will be a little bit expensive for the walk move. But again, it sort of shows you then a little bit why perhaps he is being a little bit quiet in the work, keeping the lid on it a little bit, because there the walk to canter, for the big mark needs to be direct. It was very progressive. He's riding it, very well. He's riding what he's got. Clearly, he's being cautious. Oh, that was late behind. will dive through the change. So the canter looks in a slightly less self-carriage than some of the trot work, but it's a lot happens in this test. And again, we head on to that view, but there was a disturbance. But again, definitely potential for the future. A lovely horse. I'm not sure how many runs he's had at advanced.
Yeah, stepping up to the level
so
last year.
Yeah, so it could just be but it is, it's a big occasion. There's cross-country jumps right smack. That was a better change. A little bit more carriage, but there's cross-country jumps all the way around the warm-up, which will affect some of these horses as they think, let's stop going around in circles and let's start running around. And again, I'd like a little bit more stretch for the canter. It went down, but it sort of lowered the wither. It was more sort of on the forehand rather than stretching. Stretching down the wrong way just pushes you a little bit onto the front. I would like to have had a little bit more height and with a bit more jump to the canter. Again, it looks very smooth, easy into the connection.
Snuck that change in.
I mean, the change is a 6 or a 5-5. It's a 6. It was clean, but it was a little lacked expression for the big mark. But again, it depends a little bit on the view. But what they're looking for in the flying change is the word flying. They need airtime for the big mark. Not too bad there. Again, what I'm looking for is when the horse comes down, is that it goes straight in the rhythm behind and really just pushes on down. So I think the change is possibly expensive for his mark, but I'm sure he'll be pleased. The horse was a little bit tense in the walk, but
yeah, and I think considering those moments of tension we saw, he was able to keep that quite relaxed, which is fantastic. So Boyd Martin completing his test with Ray Price. He currently sits in second place with Setzerleg, who kicked us off this morning. That score is 30.2, sitting behind clubhouse leader Liz Halliday Sharp and Fernhill by Night on 28.7. Still the only score we've seen in the 20s so far, James. Do you think that we are going to see someone else join Liz in the 20s club today?
Looking at the list down, I think there's a couple of potentials.
I agree.
Yes, I do. I think there's 3 or 4.
Yes.
I'm not going to jinx them by saying it. I will let them prove me wrong or right. They've definitely got potential, and I think it will be an exciting few horses to come. But there you can see there that some horses just, there the walk looks very relaxed. But often, obviously at this level, they know once they've done the trot work, when they've done the walk, they know the canter's coming, especially if the changes are green. Often they can get a little bit tense in the pick-up because they know what's about to happen.
Is that the break?
These horses all want to please, so
just one more to go before that lunch break, and then we're going to have that final group of horses that we think there are a few who can get into the 20s.
Fingers crossed. It'd be good to have a really good competition. So I think with the ones coming up, I think it'll be exciting. We've got some really experienced combinations. So yeah, let's game on.
It's absolutely game on, and of course it's all going to come down to the cross country tomorrow. This showcase format, James, is so exciting for spectators. It's like a go-kart track out there with the cross country.
I've only briefly seen the ones the jumps that are smack next to the arena, and it's up to spec. I mean, it looks good, and I think it's going to be challenging. It definitely won't just be a dressage competition, which I think is always good. And I'm assuming the show jumping is going to be up to height as well, and maximum spec. So yeah, I think it'll be a good competition, a good test of the 3 phases. I just wish the weather would cheer up. I feel a little bit sorry for the organisers. They put in so much work and effort, and the jumps look amazing. The arena's amazing. Everything looks great. So I just wish more people could come and share the joy.
Yes, well, weather conditions probably not going to be improving that much more for this afternoon, unfortunately.
No, we're going to have a heat wave. It's clearly, it's definitely going to get better. Come on down.
But tomorrow definitely looks better for the cross country. There's also a craft beer festival running tomorrow afternoon here at Bruce's Field. So for anyone who's watching at home, plan to come on out tomorrow for cross country starting at 2:30. If you can't be here, we will be showing you all the action live here on EQTV Network. Definitely going to be a nail biter. We agree that it's going to come down to cross country tomorrow. Time penalties are going to make all the difference. And
at the moment, I think the dressage is very close. So, I mean, if they can get this close and then they all sort of go clear, hopefully, in the show jumping, and then, like you said, I think the time will be tight. So riders are going to have to make gambles and an educated guess at jumps and lines. So it's going to be a thrilling competition. I don't think we'll know. And I believe it's in reverse order.
It is in reverse order.
It will be gripping to watch. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and show jumping is also going to run in reverse order of standings after the dressage. So it's even going to be...
Again, that adds more tension to the riders, makes it more exciting to watch. I assume the multiple rides may have to go slightly out of order if they're close. But I think it will be interesting. I think then perhaps the riders with more experience can show their depth, because they'll be under a lot of pressure, especially with the jumping up to height. But the arena looks great. So yeah, no, I think it should be a really good competition.
So we are just waiting for Holly, Jack, Smither to come forward as our final pair to go before the break. We're going to take a quick break now, though, and thank our sponsors who are making the broadcast possible.